time for us to make peace and stop the fighting. One love, one unity, got to break the bondage. No more borders around me, no more mental slavery. But Marley said it best, stand together and feel alright. But if we fight, let it be for justice. And if we war, let it be for justice. At all costs, let it be for justice. Do what is right, let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. Inequity, disparities, and violence, oppression, racism. No, I won't be silent. No more barriers for we. We will thrive, prosperity. Marcus Garvey said it best. None but ourselves can free your minds. But if we fight, and if we want, let it be for justice. At all costs, let it be for justice. Do what is right, let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. 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 No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. We the people are from royalty.
Greetings and salutations one and all.
Us can't.
Welcome to the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew.
The culture be united, stop the violence. Put the power.
It's community and finance night.
In the news last week.
And tonight we're in for
sick of these murders in the street.
Quite a treat. I'm looking forward to it. It's always good when you can sit down and have discussions with listeners.
Let it be for justice.
Tonight we're talking about something that is no stranger, a subject no stranger to the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew. Started talking about it back in 2019 and have been talking about it ever since.
Let it be
the Stacey Stites murder and Rodney Reed conviction.
Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice.
But before we get into that, let me take care of some formalities and say thank you one and all for tuning in.
Justice.
Much love to those who are locked in on TuneIn Radio on the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew.
For us to make peace and stop the fight.
Much love to those who are hailing from across the pond, One Harmony Radio. Top of the morning to you guys over in the UK.
No more borders around me.
Big ups to those in New Jersey.
Mental slavery.
Hanging out on NIE Radio.
Said it best, stand together.
Chilling with the motivator. Yeah, I did say chilling. I hear there's some chilly weather passing by up that side. Big ups to those over in New York. Hanging out on Island Worldwide. Exhibiting the power of music. Home of this lady right here kicking us off, China Nicole. Much love, Gary. And the Jump Out production crew. Big ups to those who are locked in out of Long Island, New York. On Reggae Pulse Radio. Hanging out to DJ Atomic Force and the crew.
No more barriers for we. We will thrive, prosperity. Marcus Garvey said it best. None but ourselves can free your minds. But if we fight,
I want to say big ups to those who are hailing out of Texas.
And if we want,
those on Alawap Radio. Those on Dusick Media Group. Those on WGLRO. Home of the Don and Walker Morning Show. The People Station. Taking it from the sheets to the streets, touching from Detroit to Denmark and all points in between. Much love to the massive out of South Florida. Hanging out on the Foundation Radio Network, ClintonLindsay.com.
Let it be let it be for justice. Let it be for justice.
Hey, Danny Walker.
Let it be
You know, I started talking about Rodney Reed because of you.
for justice. We the people are from royalty. Royalty. I wish so many of us can see.
I want to say big up to those who are locked in on PEMGTV.com.
Stop the violence. Put the power in our
Those on Zeno FM.
eyes. In the news last week,
Those hanging out in Clubhouse.
I'm so sick of these murders.
Those on Facebook Live. Those on YouTube Live. And those right here at the home of the night shift to DJ Kevin Stew, where you're encouraged to have acceptance through enlightenment. KevinStew.com. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So glad to have you. Couldn't do it without you. You have my word, I wouldn't even try.
Us to make peace and stop the fighting. One
I
love
want to say thank you to my segment sponsors.
bondage.
Paul C Media Group, and being in a moment is priceless. Go ahead and give them a call.
Mental slavery.
They'll take care of your videos, your photos, your streaming, your ads. Everything you see here on KevinStew.com and more. That event you want to stream live, whether it is a church service, a funeral, a wedding, a party, a graduation, a seminar, you name it. You want to stream it on a secure platform, whether yours or theirs, they can hook you up. Paul C Media Group, 754-999-1140. That's 754-999-1140. Tell them Kevin Stew sent you.
Let it be for justice. Inequity, disparity.
I want to say thank you to Althea and her Healing Heavenly Hands.
Oppression.
Althea is a licensed massage therapist operating out of Broad County, North Miami-Dade, and South Palm Beach counties. She comes to you,
We will thrive.
bringing her table, her oils, and over 20 years massage therapy experience.
That's none but ourselves can free your
Give her a call, schedule your appointment today, 954-655-9000. That's 954-655-9000. She only has one request outside of paying her. That is, you get off her table and go sleep somewhere else when she's done. It's called the Kevin Stew Clause.
Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. No matter what it costs, let it be for justice.
I want to say thank you to Reggae Global Entertainment.
Let it be for justice. Let it be.
Reggae Global act as your booking agent, handle your tour management, take care of your business registrations, legal service referrals, music production, marketing and promotion, and much, much more.
Are from royalty.
Give them a call, 954-804-8199.
Us can
Or check them out online at reggaeglobal.com.
try to stop the violence. Put the power.
Tell them you heard about them on the night shift with DJ Kevin Stew.
News last week, another bomb overseas. I'm so sick of these murders in the streets.
Thank you to Mcneil Trucking. Mcneil Trucking is veteran-owned, licensed and insured movers in the state of Florida.
One love, one unity, got to break the bondage.
You want to move from the Keys up to Jacksonville,
Waters around me.
or from Naples to Cocoa Beach, any point in between.
Best stand together.
You want to put some things in storage.
But
You don't have the manpower, you don't have the transportation. Don't worry, you have the name, you have the number. Mcneil Trucking, 954-406-9740. With Mcneil Trucking, your goods are in good hands. Call them up. Tell them DJ Kevin Stew sent you.
let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. Inequity, disparities, and violence. Oppression, racism, no, I won't be silent. No more barriers for we will thrive, prosperity. Marcus Garvey said it best, none but ourselves can free your minds. But if we fight, let it be for justice. And if we want, let it be for justice. At all costs, let it be for justice. Do what is right. Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. justice. No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. We the people are from royalty. Royalty, I wish so many of us can see. Keep the culture, be united, stop the violence. Put the power in ourselves, create the franchise. In the news last week, another bomb overseas. I'm so sick of these murders in the streets. Ooh, why I? Ooh, why I?
The sound of Miss Chen and Nicole.
But if we fight,
Track called Let It Be for Justice. You know, whenever I'm addressing these matters, this is like my theme song, right?
let it be for justice. Do what is right. Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice.
I was waiting for my guest to call in.
Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. Why I? Let it be for justice.
I already have one of them waiting.
Let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. Why I? Let it be for.
This is the sound of Chen and Nicole. The track is called Let It Be for Justice.
Why I? It is time for us to make peace and stop the fighting. One love, one unit.
I already have
Love, man.
Mr. David Fisher on the line.
No more borders around me. No more mental slavery. But Marley said it best, stand together and feel alright. But if we fight, let it be for justice. And if we war, let it be for justice. At all costs, let it be for justice. Do what is right. Let it be for justice. Let it be.
Waiting for my other guest to call in.
No matter what it costs, let it be for justice. Let it be for justice. Inequity,
David, are you there?
disease, and violence.
Yes, I am.
Okay, live and in living color, loud and clear.
No, I won't be silent. No more barriers for we.
Now, in the meantime, I want to tell everybody, if you haven't gotten your copy yet, please go get your copy today. Your copy of Empowered, Essential Concepts and Strategies Every Woman Should Know About Self-Defense, written by Jonathan Field. The audiobook is now available, narrated by yours truly, me, DJ Kevin Steele. So go on Audible, go on Amazon, get your audiobook today. Empowered, Essential Concepts and Strategies Every Woman Should Know About Self-Defense. Hey, listen, it is an awesome book. I had the author as my guest just a couple of weeks ago. Go ahead and check the archives. You'll see it there. You can watch on YouTube. You can go ahead and listen to the podcast. Everything is available to you right there on kevinstew.com. So you don't need to worry about going all over the place to find it. Go to kevinstew.com. You'll find all the information right there. Even a link to get the book itself. Empowered, Essential Concepts and Strategies Every Woman Should Know About Self-Defense. Okay. So I think I have everybody accounted for. Fish, you there, right?
I'm here.
Okay, you still there. And caller, Biscuit.
Caller's here too. Yeah.
That's all I know you as. That's I guess that'll be your name.
You can you can call me Patrick. I use that name, but my real name is Kevin. So in order for it to not to be confusing, call me Patrick or caller.
Okay, Patrick. Got you. All right. So on the line, I have Patrick. I have long-time legal consultant David Fisher. I started looking at the Rodney Reed case because I heard David Fisher in 2019 talking with the host of the Donnie Walker Morning Show, Donnie Walker himself, And I'm like, okay, people need to hear about this. Some other people need to hear about this. And we got connected and we've been talking about it ever since. And so here we are now. We have David Fisher, we have Patrick on the line. We have some people in the stew pot interacting with us. For those of you listening in, don't know what the stew pot is, it's what others call a chat room. Just go to kevinstew.com and you're there. You don't need to register. You don't need to offer your firstborn an internal organ or a blood sacrifice. Just go to kevinstew.com and you can interact directly through the chat room right there. Simple, nice and easy. That's how Patrick got in. That's how anybody else can get in. So, without further ado, we are talking records requests, and specifically about records requests for the truck that is linked to the death of Stacey Stites and the conviction of that death of Rodney Reed. And so, to give a little bit of a backstory, before I get too deep into this, Justice C, as it relates to Darlie Routhier's case, if there are people that are knowledgeable of the case, want to come on and talk about it, yes, the platform is available for it, as well as Melissa Lucio's case. Call them up, connect with them, send them my way. We can talk about it. You know, the more we get to talk about these things on a platform like this, the more informed people will be, and the more people can get to hear their opinions or their findings, as the case may be. So, Patrick.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, here you are. Last time I addressed this, some time ago, you came on and said you shared your opinion on some things, and I suggested that you go ahead and do your records request as it relates to the truck, because we were talking about the truck at the time. And you submitted your records request, and I am going to pull up what you had sent to me in the email as per your request and the response you got. But go ahead and you can start as I pull this up for you.
Yeah. Well, this is just one of the issues that, again, with respect, I have significant disagreements with what you and Mr. Fisher have put forth on this program, and David in other places as well. And the nature of this is that, as you put on your site, the the Department of Public Safety that Mr. Fisher put an inquiry, a request for information on, was the checking in and out of the DPS in 1996 of the Jimmy Fennell pickup truck. And, this is just one of many issues that have been kind of bubbled up in my opinion, a very conspiratorial way to cast aspersions on Jimmy or take focus away from Rodney. That all being said, I believe, and Mr. Fisher can correct me, his statements regarding this are that the truck was never properly processed by the Department of Public Safety. And so to counter that, or to move that idea forward, what he's done is gotten from the DPS document saying that we can't come up with the confirmation or the right record that shows that somebody physically checked in the truck and checked the truck out again.
Okay.
So last time we spoke, I said, well, do you have any proof that any information like that is accessible to someone, like us, meaning, the public putting in a records request. And so what I did since our last talk, actually I did it that night. I sent an email that night saying, hey, I would like, as a record request, any evidence, truck or car or otherwise, I would like any evidence that was checked in during that week period. I would like to know what the nature of it was, and as detailed as you can. And they came back with the fact that we're sorry, we put due diligence towards looking for this, but we just can't find it. So as I said in the email, you've got to take that in mind, and now you got to decide, was the truck never properly inspected by the DPS, or is it the fact that records from the DPS don't include documenting property that was admitted and discharged from the DPS garage decades ago?
Okay, so
yeah.
Okay, can I step in just for a second here? Kevin, I went ahead and emailed you just, while you were doing your promos in the beginning.
Yes.
The DPS report, full-length report in a PDF, and the last sentence is from Wilson Young, who was the officer in charge of all the processing of all the DNA, all the evidence in the case. He said, later that afternoon, I released the truck to officers of the Bastrop County Sheriff's Office. In parentheses, I failed to have the officers sign something documenting the fact that it was released to them. However, I did see identification from these officers assuring me that I was releasing it to one of the agencies involved in the investigation, in parentheses, which means nothing.
So
that's an acknowledgement that he didn't process the truck out.
Okay.
I'm still, and I'm sorry, Patrick.
Before I pull that up, though, I wanted to show the actual request that Patrick had put in. I had it up just now. Oh shoot, I lost it. But the request, Patrick had sent me a copy of the request itself and the response from the DPS. And I want to first put the... here we go. We'll use this screenshot of the request here. And in it, it says, under the Texas Public Information Act, Chapter 552 of the Government Code, I request access to or copies of documentation for all objects or vehicles that were logged into DPS for the following days. April 23, and the days are listed, April 23, 24, 25, 26, 1996. It goes on to say, background. On a previous occasion, Mr. David Fisher put a records request into the DPS for the logs that would show a truck involved with the murder of Stacey Stites being checked into the DPS. He received documentation in the form of a letter from DPS that stated that no logs existed that shows the truck was ever logged into the DPS. I am requesting logs for evidence checked in during the day of and days after the murder. My assumption is that we will be unable to access these documents, not because there was no evidence checked in, but because such records were not preserved, as such logs might not be considered necessary decades after their use. And that was, you said you had sent that September 27th, Patrick?
Yeah, that was I think that was the night or the day after we spoke.
Okay, cool. All right. Fish. As per, let me go ahead and quickly grab your email you just sent to me with that PDF. And you mentioned what, the last line you said?
Yes, it's a 2-page report.
Yes.
and the last two sentences on the last page.
Okay, let me go ahead and pull that up. Oh, I do have it up. Later that afternoon, I released the truck to officers of Bastrop County Sheriff's Office. I failed to have officers sign something documenting the fact that it was released to them. However, I did see identification from these officers assuring me that I was releasing it to one of the agencies involved in the investigation of this case. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Now, the reason that this is so important, this document, Patrick, is there's a lot more in. It's a two-page report, DPS report. It's dated that it was issued on May 1st, 1996. So, and I received it as part of when I was consulting for ABC 2020 on their 2-hour Rodney Reed special. I was advising them on how to file public records requests so they could verify the same, I would provide them documents and then help them write their public records requests to receive the same records for their, for their own broadcast, because they like to be able to, and I understand it, prove that these records that I gave them are truly the true records from the DPS. But what I started noticing is that the DPS was coming back and saying that those records don't exist. And so, talking to the producers of ABC 2020, I told them, okay, we got a game going on here, so let me do this. So I filed a shotgun type of request, which I normally do not do. I filed a request for all of the DPS records involving, the search and reports written on this case. And so I received a massive file. And going through it, I found this, and I found a companion to it. It was the processing of David Lawhon's pickup. You're familiar with David Lawhon, Patrick?
Certainly, yeah.
He was originally accused of killing both women, and they processed the truck that he was driving. And I had never seen either one of these reports, nor had any of Rodney's attorneys, because I checked. And what is so amazing in this record you have there, Kevin?
Yes.
Is it discloses something about the burns on Stacy that were never disclosed in the autopsy report or any other record. I'd never seen it until I received this. And what it tells you is that they're going back and re-looking at the truck because the day before, that Warlow was at the autopsy, and Bayardo mentioned, it says here it is, it says later, the morning of April 25th, 96, after Karen had talked to Rocky Wardlow and Dr. Bayardo of the Travis County Medical Examiner's Office, it was decided that we would get back together and examine the truck one more time. It was reported to Karen by Dr. Bayardo that the dark discoloration under the victim's breast was consistent with burns having been caused by a slow burning process. Never has anybody seen that before. It's not in the autopsy report. It's not in Bayardo's testimony. It's nowhere. And this is known 3 days after her death, 2 days after her death, except for it's not in the autopsy report. It's not in there's no notes. There's nothing. And this doesn't show up. And if I'm to believe this date, until May 1st, 96, and the first time it was released to anybody, or anybody knew about it, was 2020. 14 years later. I'm sorry, 24 years
24.
later, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 24 years later. And it goes on. It says, discoloration. So it says, we examined the truck for possible prints of where the victim may have been laid over the hood of the vehicle and received the burns in that fashion. And then in parentheses, during the course of the investigation, investigating the body, Karen collected vaginal swabs from the victim and returned to the lab to make slides for the spermazoa sperm were observed, indicating that she may have been sexually assaulted, in parentheses. Also at the time, a second/third looking at the truck, a red shirt that may have been worn by the victim as part of her work outfit was collected, as per the request of Ranger Rocky Warlow. Now, this is an odd report. This does not match investigative reports that I review, and I have done this for decades, all the way back with the Postal Police. This one is rambling, trying to put all the pieces together in one report. But as I said, what is interesting is, for the first time ever, anywhere in writing, and only here, and in the processing of David Lawhon's truck, doesn't mention that the burns are low temperature, and here's the follow-up, that it does, the two words that it doesn't say, but it's inferring: low temperature, long duration burns, meaning this is a slow cooking process that led to those burns.
Her body was not found until hours and hours after it was put in where it was found.
So what would have caused the burns then?
The sun.
What was the temperature that day?
It was. I mean, everybody knows it was a very, you can see by the videotape that it was warm, and this was brought up during one of the appeals, and I think that it came back pretty definitively that the burns could be accounted for by the sun.
No, that's Bayardo's sublimation, except for Stacy Stites has a padded bra on. Now, it is black, that is true, but this is April 23rd, which is early spring. The temperature, a front had just come in. The temperature that night that she went missing, where her body was found, was in the mid-40s to low 50s. The maximum temperature for that day occurred after her body is found at around 5 p.m. at 80 degrees. The road is a north-south road with 50, 60-foot pines on the east side and the west side of the road. So her body was shaded up until 10 or 11. She's laid in a grove of small plum trees, so she's shaded, sparsely through the hot, through the most intense part of the sun, and then she's shaded in the late afternoon. I've seen these burns before. I have autopsies with them in other cases, and this type of burn is known. It occurs generally late summer, July, August, early September, when the temperatures are in the mid to upper 90s at traffic accidents where bodies are ejected onto black asphalt. And since they're deceased, they're left there until the investigation is completed. And the asphalt temperatures are running 130 to 150 degrees. And it cooks the tissue that's on that asphalt exactly like Stacy's. Those are exactly the same type of burns.
All right. We are a
And
country
so
mile away from what
Hmm?
we started talking about, but I guess what are you saying happened because of this evidence?
What it tells you is, see, all the evidence says it's impossible for Rodney. One, Stacy would have, according to the scenario of the state, and Fennell, and HEB, Stacy's work shift started that day at 3:30 a.m. She didn't show up for work. Stacy lives approximately 30 miles from HEB. It's just under a 30-minute drive, if you go the speed limit, which is 65. It's just under 30 minutes. And nobody in this part of Texas in that wide open space goes
Drives the speed
60,
limit.
65. You'll be 70, 75. That's why we drive in Texas. Anyway, it would have taken her less than 30 minutes. But say it took her 30 minutes. What the state is alleging is that she came the odd route instead of going just the whole highway all the way to the door, which is, to the front door of HEB, which is the fastest, easiest, that she broke off just before she got to the highway intersection to go into Bastrop and took the back roads coming through town. And doing that, she would have hit several lights. And she would have had to go over the railroad tracks. Well, the state,
What time did she get the sunburn?
I'm sorry? Just hear me out.
What-
Because it's not a sunburn. It is absolutely not. Now, so Lisa Tanner suggests that she got caught by the train. Well, I checked. The Southern Pacific said that the train didn't run that day, that morning. It was one of those rare occasions that it did not run that morning, so she couldn't have been stopped by the train. Additionally, that's where the state says that Rodney would have abducted her. But even if that were true, and the train ran and she stopped, best case scenario, Rodney would have abducted her at 3:30, and her truck is found at 5:30 in the parking lot where it's basically observed thereafter. So Rodney would have had all of 2 hours in which to abduct her, assault her, dump her body, and get the truck back to the high school parking lot by 5:30. Now,
Seems doable.
I'm sorry?
That seems.
Yes, you're right. All
legitimate.
that is doable. Now let's look at the physical evidence, though. Bayardo's telling you that these burns are low temperature, which means long duration, because they're very thick. They're better than third degree. And according to the testimony in the trial transcripts, as you can find it, Karen Blakely makes a comment that the burns are odd. They're dry, leathery, and hard. And right as she says that, Calvin Garvey cuts her off. It would take, based on asphalt, bodies on the asphalt, it would take more than an hour of her body, really several hours, of her body laying on the hot asphalt to even come close to doing what, the damage that's done to her tissue. Additionally, you have all of the nasal discharge onto the floorboard of the truck. And you see it coming in at her body at the dump site. You see the trails of it running out of her nose, running, drying, much like a candle wax running, continue to run a drip down the side of a candle, cool, and another drip come down and just make layers.
David.
Right.
Okay, let me just 1 second, Patrick. That doesn't begin. That decomposition in the lungs doesn't begin until 3 or 4 hours after death at the earliest. So Stacy had to have been dead more than 4 hours in the floorboard of the truck before the body would start purging these fluids that are in her lungs that bubbled up through her bronchial passages out her mouth and nose. And if you, in the reports, Karen Blakely is talking about they're still bubbling. When they're there, you can see the bubbles are still, bubbling and popping in her nose.
So
that can't happen in 2 hours. It never happens in 2 hours. Otherwise, every crime scene, you would see this discharge running out of the face of people, and it's rare that you see that.
So hold on though, we're talking about the burns. So
no, well, we're talking about the burns taking, hours. If it's low temperature, as Bayardo said, that means long duration. You're talking hours and hours exposed to
So her
heat.
body was found at 4 a.m. No, her body was probably placed at 4 a.m. and found at 3 p.m. That's
Right.
11 hours.
Right.
That's a long
But
duration.
her body couldn't have been in. But her body couldn't have been in the truck dead for more than 2 hours max.
But-
And yet there's so much discharge all over the floorboard of the truck. The body has been in there for hours dead,
There's not
hours
that much.
after death.
There's not that much discharge. There's discharge.
Oh
There's
yeah.
not a
Oh
lot of-
yes, there is. Because see, you just see the pieces on the floorboard, but it's on the back braces. It's on a lot of stuff that was
Yeah.
on the floorboard. So what you see in the truck.
Yeah, small amounts were on the knee brace and in other places. But
Right.
4 a.m.
But in
to 3
total-
p.m. is
in
a long
total-
period of time for a body to be exposed to the sun.
And
it
yet,
kinda makes
guess
sense.
what? And wait a minute. Guess what you don't find at the crime scene? You find no discharge on the leaves, on the dirt, no leaves and dirt sticking to the side of her face, which
Oh,
tells you
God.
that her body was placed there long after the discharge stopped.
All right.
here's
we've
here's
skated
something before,
away from
one second.
what we started talking about here.
One second, Patrick.
No, Patrick. We're talking about what the evidence tells us. Now, in this
we were
report,
talking about the truck.
wait.
I mean, very
Patrick,
specifically, you guys
Patrick,
sent me
you need-
away to do my
Patrick,
homework.
you need to
figure
read
out the truck.
You need
Wait.
to read this DPS report that's done by Will Young, Rocky Wardlow, Karen Blakely, with Bayardo stuff in it, and read it, because there's a bunch more stuff in here that is just incredible, such as Will Young saying, they processed the inside of the truck, and they did a presumptive test on the fluids for sperm, which were negative, so they didn't take a sample of the discharge because it didn't show sperm. I mean, are you kidding me? You have bodily fluids, and you don't take a sample?
I feel like I'm playing three-card Monty here.
I'm sorry?
Every time we start talking about a subject, you shuffle the cards and talk about a different subject.
Oh, well, I guess
Hold on. All right.
you see,
Hold
Patrick,
up.
it depends on which side of the hand you're dealt. If I have 4 aces and you have 4 deuces, no matter what anybody says, is that you're ignoring the fact that I have 4, that you have 4 deuces.
All right,
When
hold up.
we're playing
Fish.
poker and 4 aces win, if you're holding a losing hand, what does it matter what your opinion is? What does it matter? This is an actual report from the DPS disclosing something that nobody has you've never heard of this.
Yeah, but
You've never seen
I mean-
anywhere where Bayardo says these are low temperature, long duration burns. Nobody has,
Yeah.
because it didn't
That's
surface
11
until
hours. 11 hours
it
is a
didn't-
long time to have low duration, high time burns.
Okay, well, hold on.
No.
Fish,
Sorry,
hold
okay.
on. Wait,
Sorry,
Fish,
Kevin.
Fish, 1 second, 1 second. Again, let's look at the temperature of that day. The high temperature of that day was what? In the
80
80s?
degrees. 80.
So-
Just reaching 80.
So where is the high temperature from the sun there, Patrick? to cause
Where's
that,
the high
that
temperature?
to cause that level of burn?
I don't know if I was outside from 4 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, my skin exposed, and it reaches 76, 80, 87 87 That's what I'm reading.
Okay, so that is
Okay.
your
Wait,
one second, fish. One second,
I think
one
I'm
second,
in bad
fish.
shape.
1 second, fish. If you're in the shade and the temperature reaches that, then where do you get those burns?
You get it from exposure to the sun, which her body was exposed to the sun.
You're in the shade most of the time. Where do you get those burns?
Yeah, well, let's just ignore that. Let me. Hey, Patrick, you've seen the pictures of Stacy's body laid out there.
Yeah, and I've seen the sun shining down on it.
Okay. She's on her back. Both arms stick out from her shoulders and are up. The inside of her arms are both facing the sun, right? The inside of her right and left arm are facing up. The back side of her arms are down on the ground, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yet her left arm that's on the ground, from her just above her wrist down to the back of the palm of her hand, have third-degree burns, and they're down on the ground. They're never exposed to the sun.
Well, this isn't something that we can really debate here because, number one,
because you don't have an answer for it.
No, we have a very crappy, excuse my language, VHS, not a high definition video of it. Of the crime scene.
But the record is there,
you have the autopsy report that tells you. You have the autopsy report that describes
but we don't know how she was moved. We don't know. Yeah.
Wait a minute. If she was moved after her body was dumped.
I don't know, Kevin. Do you want to discuss the topic that we opened up this with, or do you want to just skate around every other type of topic that he wants to bring up?
We keep going back to where we start. If we can stop right here and go back to the start. Truck. Okay? Truck. Let's go straight back to the truck. So, we're saying that there's no record of the truck being processed. Right? And your argument is that when you ask for other records for that day, you can't be provided with any. So, you're saying, let me go ahead and pull up what you said in this email.
I said that either.
Go ahead.
Either
such a log.
Folks, yeah, go ahead.
Such a log existed in 1996.
Well, let's assume that it did.
Okay, where is it now?
Yeah.
No, all of the look. Let me advise you on your public records request. That request that you made did not help you any. I'm surprised that they even responded because generally they won't. You see, you did not. Let me explain why. You did not give the license plate number of the vehicle. You did not.
No, he asked for general.
You did not give.
Hold on, Fish. He asked for general records.
Involving all vehicles processed into the DPS lab that day. There were other vehicles
and other days. And other days.
And other days. And you see, that's too broad.
Well, I've gotten
because look, it's almost impossible. Huh? No, they didn't. They just brushed you. That's a brush off.
One at a time, gentlemen. One at a time. Patrick, you were saying what?
I'm saying that I asked for it. They told me that they tried to retrieve it, and they couldn't.
Sure they did. But you didn't give them any foundational evidence in which to know where to go look. Because see, if vehicles are brought in, vehicles are brought into the crime lab. They're checked in, and it may be a week or 2 weeks before they're processed because they're not high on the order of things. You know, if you have a active murder case, but if you have other cases where the person is missing and presumed foul play, then they confiscate the vehicle that the person last used, and they hold it. They don't process it until they know that there was a crime and what type of crime occurred. Otherwise, the processing.
You said that you had a document from Wilson Young that says specifically that.
Yes. Do you know what would have better served your public records request? Because you tapped all around it. You know what you should have requested? And you can refile it. Ask for my public records request for tracking Jimmy Fennell's pickup from the point it was logged in to the DPS on April 23rd, 1996, until it was released on or about July 25th, 1996. Ask for my record. I'm sorry?
The response would be, we don't have it.
You can no. Listen to me. I said ask for my public records request. See, my public records requests are public records now.
But
so you ask for my, hear me out, ask for my request and the responses that the DPS sent me, and then see what you get. Because you will get my request. Huh?
What was the response? The response was the same as mine.
The response is they have no records of anybody processing it in.
Exactly.
And as you just see on this one, you'll get this one telling you that they don't have any records showing that they released the truck. So they have no records that they logged it in or they logged it out.
Right. They have no records of any evidence going in to the DPS on those.
And do you know what that's called, Patrick?
What? No. Listen.
It's called breaking the chain of evidence, and then it undermines everything between those two dates, those 2 points.
So says you. Because
you can't prove that is the truck that it's supposed to be that they allegedly processed.
Gentlemen.
No, Patrick. See, you don't understand. There's laws and rules of evidence.
Hold on, Fisher.
And if you break them.
Hold on, 1 second. There's something that I want to play here. There's a video that I want to play, and some people would be familiar with this. It comes from State versus Reed, and this was. The full film was revised back in 2013, but here is something that I want to play for you guys. Now, those who are watching the broadcast will see, and those who are just listening will hear naturally. So check this out.
What happened to Jimmy Fennell's pickup truck following the murder is still unclear for some of those involved in the case.
They turned over the truck to the boyfriend. Now, it was found at the school, and Stacy's body was found quite a distance away from the school. That would tend to suggest to me that, one, either a struggle took place in the truck, two, she might have been killed in the truck. Three, she might have been transported in the truck. Four, it would have contained fingerprints, latent, evidence of the crime, latent forensic.
So there you go. They take the truck, they go to the DPS crime lab, they start to do processing, and then like 4 days later or something, maybe 5 max, 4 or 5 days later, they return the truck to Fennell.
When I requested the truck and the opportunity to look at the truck, they could not provide it. There was no statement made that the truck was with DPS. No statement made that it had ever been turned over to DPS. I was told that it was turned over to the boyfriend. Now, that's what I was told.
This is the signing of the selling of the truck. to Gold, Chevrolet, and Giddings. This is the best copy the state could come up with. You can barely make out that it was done. Well, you can see it's clearly was signed by Jimmy Fennell Jr. He swore at court that his dad handled the transaction on the selling of the truck. Here it is, right here. On the title, 4/24/96.
That is the day after.
That's the day after Stacy was killed.
How do you justify that? Evidence that is key to establishing a defense of alibi, the existence of another culprit or perpetrator, is irrevocably destroyed. How much sense does that make? None. Absolutely none. And, you know, I'm aware this is being taped, so I'm going on record. None. And I believe the state knew about it. I believe the district attorney for Bastrop knew about it. I believe the sheriff's department knew about it. And I believe the Bastrop Police Department knew about it. And I do believe they covered that up for reasons I do not know.
All right. Feedback, Patrick. Patrick?
Crickets.
Patrick, are you still there?
Hi, can you hear me all right?
I can hear you just fine. Are you still there?
Oh, okay. Yeah. David Fisher's a very handsome guy.
Fisher, the man gave you a compliment.
Oh, okay. I always accept compliments, and I don't mind criticism either. Some of it's due, and where criticism is due, I accept it. I want to be the best I can be.
Right. Now, there's something I sent you, Kevin. I don't know if you remember. I sent you a picture of the truck being analyzed by the DPS because it had a picture of the inside of the truck with a DPS ruler in it. Do you remember getting that?
Yes, I remember getting that. A comment here in the stew pod asking if that's all you got out of that video, that David Fisher is a handsome guy.
Well, that was the biggest part, right? That was the most obvious part.
Oh,
no,
okay.
I mean,
Fisher wasn't featured. Fisher wasn't the featured part of that video, though. There was the attorney.
Why don't you ask me a question about it?
I asked you for your feedback on the information. You just said Fisher's a handsome guy, and the person someone commented in the stew pot.
Fisher was 50 years old in that video.
Hold up, Fish.
Nobody.
Hold up, Fish.
Nobody in that video
Patrick.
was. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The comment came from the stew pot, and I passed it on. Real quickly, for those who are locked in on Facebook Live, we're gonna end this feed. Just come on over to kevinstew.com for the remainder of the broadcast. Halle, Janice, good to see you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sharing. Much love. Come on over to kevinstew.com. Those of you on Clubhouse, do the same. We're going to part company with you guys over there, okay? Go ahead, Patrick.
So, I mean, those are folks who certainly have made their mark on this case by defending Rodney Reed.
Well, that was his job. That was his attorney. It was his attorney.
Yeah,
that was his job.
No.
I don't understand. That was his job. That was his attorney.
Right, it wasn't his job when he was videoed, was it?
No, what he was saying is, this is what I was told back in 1996. See, he represented Rodney for, 1997. He represented Rodney for about 3 months. So in 1997, when, he's taken over the case and he asks for the records on the truck, the DPS says that they don't have any. Now, and he's saying that he's asking for, he's saying that the truck was released, to Fennell. And then you have Jordan Smith, who's reporting, her stuff from the Austin Chronicle, and she's reporting that they returned the truck to Jimmy 4 days later.
You say
Actually,
it was returned to him the next day.
Huh? Wait a minute. So let me, Patrick, please. There are multiple reports, and every one of them give a different date. The Sheriff's Department, who interviewed with Jimmy Fennell on the 29th of April, he told them when he met with them for the first time, since the Sheriff's Department took over because their bodies found out in the country, not in the city, Jimmy Fennell told him that day, the 29th, the day he's meeting with them, that he had picked up the truck that morning and sold it. So Jimmy Fennell says he picked up the truck on the 29th of April. Will Young, in this document that I gave Kevin, says that he released the truck on the 25th. The records I got on the vehicle from the DPS shows Jimmy Fennell sold it on the 24th. And the DPS says they have no records, they logged it in or logged it out. And
Right.
so what?
I'm just saying I've proved that means nothing. This log that.
Oh, no. You gave us your opinion that it means nothing. But in the eyes of the law and evidence, it means everything. And you see, remember, a Texas Ranger, a Texas Ranger is in charge of this case from within 3 hours of that truck being found. This case is being run by Texas Ranger Rocky Warlow. And everybody knows the Texas Rangers are the smartest people in the world. I mean, remember, Tonto told you that. And yet, here you go, the crime lab can't even document the only piece of evidence that day or the next, that they had, that pickup. They can't. Nobody signed it in. Nobody signed it out. Nobody knows the correct date. Processed. Everybody has a different date. All the documents show different dates. And that is the key piece of evidence. And that truck controls who killed her. Absolutely 100%. Simply based on the evidence.
The truck.
Hold
Wilson
on.
Young did analyze the truck at the DPS.
Okay, what did Wilson Young find in his analysis?
Do you want me to read what he said in court?
No. I want to know what was found. What is said in court.
What he wrote in his reports. When they happened. See, he's writing this report on May 1st of 96. We're talking how many days after her death? 7.
He goes into great detail talking about the stains, the tests, determining that the stain is truly a semen stain by looking at the spermatozoa in the stain. The first step. No. He doesn't, because they haven't.
What?
The time that he writes this report, no testing has been done on DNA. That didn't happen until 97. This is at Rodney's trial. This is what he testified to. Yes, but you see, this report that gives you all the pertinent facts about that truck was never released to the defense. Nobody saw it until I got it in 2020. Nobody has ever seen this before. About Bayardo claiming that these burns are low temperature, long duration.
Wait, hold up, Fish. Let's stay with the truck. Let's not bring anything into more to the water. Let's look at the truck.
Sticking with the truck.
Let's stay with the truck.
Here, they said that they checked the hood for the hood being hot from that being driven, and her body being thrown over the hood while the hood of the engine is hot and causing the burns.
There's no evidence of her being on the hood of the truck.
Yeah, you're right. But you see, in the 1930s, that might have happened when the hood of vehicles did not have an insulation pad. Nowadays, They have insulation.
Okay, so
you know,
we don't
and
even,
so that they don't get hot, that you can burn yourself by leaning on the hood of a car.
We don't even have to get into manufacturing advancements.
No, Kevin.
vehicles.
What I'm saying is that here is a key piece of evidence. Bayardo's suggesting to them that this is low temperature, long duration. It means heat in the range of 120 to 150 degrees.
But that is the burn, though. That's not the truck. So I want to
yes, no,
focus
it's
on
the
the
truck. They're looking to see if she could have been
burned
placed
on the hood of the truck,
engine or the hood.
Okay, so but we know that there's nothing there. We know there's nothing there.
No, we don't. We don't know anything because we don't know. They withheld this. We don't know how much of this is even true. And the same thing, and I can provide it to you, they said the same thing when they processed David Lawhon's truck. They looked on the engine and on the hood for impressions of her body there too. But you know what else they said, Patrick, about David Lawhon's truck? Interestingly enough, it was allegedly reported stolen the night that Stacy disappeared and the night that Mary Lawhon disappeared.
Marianne Alt.
Nobody has ever seen before either.
Not Mary Lawhon, Marianne Alt.
I'm sorry, Marianne Alt, yes.
Okay.
So the two women who were abducted and murdered about a week apart, the same truck was stolen that David Lawhon, the suspect who pled guilty to murdering Marianne Alt,
yes,
was driving, was reported stolen both nights, the night Stacy disappeared and the night that Marianne Alt disappeared. Now, that
let me know when we start talking about the truck again.
Huh? No, this is evidence that is key because who did the defense allege killed Stacy? David Lawhon? Can you imagine?
They said it was Jimmy.
Could you imagine the impact on the jury if they saw this report from the DPS that truck David Lawhon was driving, that he was driving when he abducted and killed Marianne Alt, was also reported stolen the night that Stacy went missing?
Who reported it stolen?
Huh? David Lawhon.
He reported it stolen.
Apparently so.
All right. Now, getting back to the truck.
You see how crazy and how much information was withheld, and
no
evidence.
I know how crazy it is.
Well, okay. So wait, Fish. I gotta cut you. Patrick.
Yep.
Go. Go ahead, Patrick.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. So I'm looking right now, and I can send it to you or what have you. You know, the testimony of Wilson Young. It was on May 7th, 1998, and he goes on from the morning, and he goes all the way into the afternoon to another session, and he's talking about all the details that he's found by analyzing the truck. And so back to our thesis statement for the evening, the truck, you say that never got properly analyzed by Austin's DPS. And it seems like, from what I found out by doing that records request and by this long examination that he provided both to the prosecution and the defense, Ms. Clay Jackson spent a lot of time talking to him as well about very much detailed points of his inspection. It seems to me you throw that in with the picture of the DPS ruler being taken and evidence, that Kevin has
simply on a cloth seat of a particular color that doesn't tell you what vehicle that ruler was laid in or when, nothing.
Many different angles on the truck that no one disputes. was the truck that belonged
And
to Jimmy
didn't
Fennell.
Karen Blakely give long testimony about processing the truck too?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
They questioned her extensively about testing that truck.
Yeah. So
and the inside of the truck, right?
Yeah. So so
now, wait.
Are they all lying?
Look at the first sentence on this lab report I just gave Kevin Stu. It says, due to prior commitments by Karen Blakely that took her away from the lab, I told her I would process the vehicle involved in this case. She wasn't there the day they processed the vehicle.
But they did process the vehicle now.
She was, huh?
Well, that's a great advancement between you and I, because now you admit that they did process the vehicle.
No, I'm saying that Karen Blakely sat there on the stand and talked about being present, processing the truck when she took a day off to be at her father's 65th birthday in East Texas.
But they did process the truck in her absence.
No, because she's talking about she's there, but she wasn't. Which tells you people lie on the stand for the state.
Hold on.
Patrick.
Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on. This document that you sent me, Fish. Analysis involved Will Young and Javier Flores, DNA, serology, Mike Hall, photo, Jean Lawrence Trace, Terry Sandifer, latent prints, requesting agency, Texas Ranger, Bastrop County Sheriff's Office, requesting officer Rocky Warlow, David Campos, leave office 12 p.m., 7:45 a.m., 11:15 a.m., total hours 5.75. That is, return office 3 p.m., 9 a.m., 12:15 p.m. I don't know what the hell that is. But here it is, synopsis of investigation. Due to prior commitments by Karen Blakely that took her away from the lab, I told her that I would process the vehicle involved in the case. We began processing this vehicle on the afternoon of April 24, 1996, the day after the victim's body had been discovered. The vehicle is a red Chevrolet S10 pickup, VIN 1GCCS1940S.
So it was processed by your own document. It was processed.
Hold on, Fish. Hold on, Fish. Hold on. Let me continue reading. The truck had been brought to the DPS auto repair shop for processing. We met Rocky Wardlow at the auto shop and began processing the truck. We were informed that the truck belongs to the victim's fiancé and that he is a police officer in Giddings. Mike began taking overall photos of the truck and then of specific items in the truck, both inside the cab and in the bed. One item was collected from the truck and given to Rocky Wardlow. Was a daily planner of the victims with her driver's license present. Mike got photos of all the items in the truck as they had been found. That's what the report says.
Now, here's the deal. And see, Patrick, have you ever been involved in investigations or law enforcement or anything?
Not in Texas, no. So nothing of my.
So you've been involved in law enforcement in other states? In another state?
Yeah. Well,
okay. Because
I'm sorry, Patrick. What was that answer?
I've been tangentially involved with state police in New England.
So you were in some work for some investigative agency on the side?
No, not professionally, not just tangentially. I've been exposed to them.
So you have a peripheral involvement with some law enforcement.
Yes.
Peripheral, without and I can understand why you wouldn't want to discuss more. I understand that. Some cases I have to take the same approach. I appreciate that. But here's the deal. Texas is not like New England. Texas is as corrupt a state as you'll ever find, equivalent to Russia, China, Iran, Venezuela. And right now I just got an email in from a reporter, seeking more documentation on judges who have not been taking the oaths in Texas.
But let's not stray though. Fish.
We're so far away from the truck now. It's been an hour
what
and a half.
I'm telling you is, Patrick, what I'm saying is...
Hold up, Patrick.
the pledge.
Hold on, Patrick.
What I'm saying is that this is the work I do. This is the work I've been doing since the early 90s when I did consulting for the Postal Police on frauds. This is what I did for the District Attorney's Office in Houston, investigating a police officer and an arson in River Oaks, close to where the President Bush lived in the early 90s. This is what I do. And, of course, evidence has to follow rules and guidelines, and people commit perjury all the time, especially in Texas. And more often than not, it's law enforcement that's committing the perjury on the stand.
So
and in the
you're
Reed
saying
case,
that
that's
Wilson
about
Young is
100%.
lying on the stand?
Well, hold up.
Young is
Hold
a
up.
liar?
Hold up, Patrick. Here's a comment. Wait, Fish. Here's a comment in the stew pot. Let's not forget Will Young gave false testimony that he found Rodney's saliva on untested breast swabs. That's a comment in the stew pot.
And that was and he never did. There were never any tests on that he did. You see, Will Young is a controlled person who works for the state. You know what happened to Karen Blakely right after this trial? She quit. She left the DPS, went into private practice. She got as far away from this bunch as she could. Even the law enforcement officers that were involved in this case told me that Lisa Tanner tried to suborn perjury from them. She threatened to destroy their law enforcement careers if they did not say what she wanted them to say on the stand. The whole thing is a rat's nest. And Bayardo, the Travis County medical examiner, I had him removed in 2006-07 for falsifying his credentials. And let me tell you, the hammer of that one is still coming, and it's coming fast right now.
But we don't want to stray too far from the truck.
But the truck
I have a question.
Just...
I have a question about the truck. So, Patrick and Fish.
Yes.
The truck was processed, right? Which means they would
No.
Wait.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Wait. According to this report, they said they processed the truck. Right?
A report that
let's go. According to this, it says they processed the truck. And allegedly, Rodney Reed was in this truck. Correct? Patrick and Fisher?
Right.
Okay.
Allegedly.
Okay. So Rodney was in this truck. They processed this truck. Where are Rodney Reed's? Where's evidence of Rodney Reed? Where's his fingerprint? Where is his DNA? Where is whatever that should be found in the truck?
Well, Rodney and Stacy were lovers, right?
Again, my question is.
Okay, no.
Hold on.
Yes,
no,
they were. Yeah, okay, no. Conceding.
Fish.
They were.
They were lovers.
No, I know where he's going on
between
this.
Between the two of them, they had one motor vehicle, which was the red truck.
They were in that truck the night before she went missing. They were.
How come his fingerprints weren't there then?
There's a simple answer to that. Because they never opened the truck and processed the inside of it, so nobody took any fingerprints. That's why you can say you didn't find Rodney's fingerprints, because you couldn't get in and test them, because the truck was gone.
But Fish,
there's
Fish,
DNA
wait, hold up.
Truck.
Hold up. Rodney allegedly drove the truck to the school parking lot. So how can his DNA fingerprints not be in the truck? Did he wipe it down?
How can they not be in the? When it was his only mode of transportation when he was in this love affair with Stacy.
Did he wipe it down?
Yeah, maybe that was it.
Yes, but how did he wipe his fingerprints and not wipe Stacy's and Jimmy's? See, they allege Stacy and Jimmy's prints are found in the truck, but not Rodney's.
How did his sperm end up in the truck, but Jimmy's didn't?
No, there's no sperm in the truck.
All right, you're really going to stick with that? You're sticking with the fact?
No, there's no reports of any sperm of Rodney found in the truck.
They said that came from swabs from either Stacy
Her
or the underwear,
and from her body.
not from the truck.
Yeah, nothing from the truck. And see, the only answer to this question is they could have tested the inside of the truck because they would have found Rodney's fingerprints. There are absolutely no ifs, ands, or buts about it because Rodney had been in that truck the night before. So the only answer is that they never processed the truck. Had they processed the truck, they would have found his prints. But you see...
So you think that the DPS is such keystone cops that they
they're far worse than that.
Well, and tell me what's their impetus to not
the
do
reason?
Anything in the truck, even though we know
let me
DPS
explain
all over the... Go ahead.
Let me explain something, Patrick. There were two parts of this investigation. The investigation from allegedly Stacy's death until the end of the year, and then the investigation from the end of 96 into 97. The investigation from the date of her death to the end, to roughly, say August, was focused on David Long being the murderer of Stacy.
That's not
and so Rodney wasn't an issue. So they didn't start looking at Rodney until 97. And the truck, when did the truck disappear? When did or leave? Regardless, the last possible date is Jimmy Fennell's on the 29th of April. Will Young's on the 25th of April. According to Tommy Brown, the attorney for Reed, they never had it in the first place. And on the documents that I got from the state, it was sold on the 24th, the day after, the morning of the 24th, which means the DPS didn't have it to process it.
It wasn't sold.
So they were never looking for
he
Rodney.
Wrote his signature on it, the registration form.
I'm sorry?
It wasn't. You have no proof that it was sold the day after. You have proof that he wrote his name.
Yes, it is. That's the date that they sold it and signed off with Gold Chevrolet in Giddings. Gold Chevrolet bought it on the 24th.
Right.
From Jimmy.
But
he signed over the title.
That was a document.
Jimmy testified that he didn't see the truck again after he saw it at the school.
He also testified that he didn't. Wait.
You expect him going to tell you the truth? You got to go by what the records say, not what Jimmy says, not what Will Young says. What the records say. People lie. People have their own reasons for lying. You have to see. I can't. There's no way you can do an investigation if you accept what people tell you in opposition to what the records show. I mean, look at your crime scene. Look at your crime shows every weekend. 2020 Dateline. Do they go by what the suspects tell them, or do they go by the records?
So the DPS is such a crooked, incompetent group that they do not process the truck for any of the, not semen, but of the Stacy's fluids. They don't process, they choose not to process any fingerprinting inside the truck at all. So that makes them
according to this report that you'll be able to download from Kevin, or he'll email you, Will Young's report that he wrote on May 1st, 96, it tells you that they did a preemptive test on the bodily fluids on the floorboard of the truck for semen acid phosphate, and they were negative, and so they didn't take any other test off the fluids on the floorboard of the truck to determine whether they were Stacy's, because if they would have swapped them, they would have matched her DNA. There would have been blood in those fluids because they came from the breakdown of the inside of her lungs. It's the same stuff that's in her nasal cavity, that's running down the side of her face, and they would have connected that to the fact that her face has been on the floorboard of the truck for a long time, a lot longer than 2 hours that she could have been dead in the truck with Rodney.
But they didn't bother opening the door inside. Not a bit. But Wilson Young does go on for probably what amounts to 3 hours cross-examination about details, talking about alleles and the kits.
But none of that had anything to do with that. Had nothing to do with the truck.
Yeah, it does.
And see, the truck is key.
Wait, hold up, Patrick. Connect that to the truck for me, please.
Can I send you the court report that
the transcript? I don't want a transcript. I want records. I don't want a transcript. I have the whole transcript. I don't care about the transcript. I really don't care about the transcript, to be honest. Unless I'm cross-referencing it. Patrick, no, hey.
That Wilson.
Hey, unless I'm cross-referencing the transcript with actual records, I don't care about the transcript. People lie in court. The transcript is a record of what happens in court. I want the records.
Lie outside of court too.
I want the records. Just like how you requested you did your records request, and I asked you, send me your request and send me the response that you got. Just like that. That's what I want. Because then
people lie outside of court?
People lie everywhere.
Okay. So why would you trust a document outside of court?
I'm trusting the records.
Patrick, you naturally you trust everything the Texas Ranger says, right?
Not everything.
Well, the Texas Ranger says when Ed Somala allegedly committed suicide, he testified that he was in Austin visiting his sister. And yet all of the people who were on the scene immediately after the shooting say that Rocky Wardlow sat in the doorway. It's 30 miles.
I remember this.
To Austin. Huh?
I know. You've gone over this a few times.
Well, and at the same time, I can provide you all my public records requests. Rocky Wardlow said he took gunpowder hand wipes, and that they were negative. And of course, the Attorney General, Lisa Tanner, asks him, is there a maximum time in which you have to take gunpowder hand wipes? Oh, yeah, you have to take them within 3 to 4 hours. And if you don't, well, you might not get a false negative. What? You might not get a false negative? What the hell is that? That's a double negative. You might not get a negative reading. The truth is that inside a house outside of weather, the residue from a gun discharge will stay on the skin until it decomposes. And if you mummify, it'll be there 50 years from now. It takes weather to wash it off. And with that testimony, I filed public, and then he goes on to testify that the results from the hand wipes were negative. I went and requested everywhere, DPS, medical examiner's office, Bastrop Police Department, Sheriff's Office. Each one referred me back around in a daisy chain to the other. There were no gunpowder residue hand wipes done. Even though the Justice of the Peace ordered by order to do them, he didn't. So Rocky Wardlow committed perjury. They didn't take gunpowder hand wipes because they know he didn't shoot himself. And beyond that, if you put a gun to your head, a .45, and you pull the trigger, it won't be just gunpowder residue that'll be on that hand. That will be
Rocky
blood
Warlow-
and...
Did Rocky Warlow testify at Reed's trial?
He testified at Reed trial, and he testified in the evidentiary hearing.
How about, did he mention some salmonella then?
They questioned him extensively in both of them, and he lied both times.
There was mention
And he
of
went on
salmonella.
to... I'm sorry?
Sorry?
During Reed's trial, there's records of Rocky Warlow mentioning salmonella.
Yes.
Okay.
And on top of that, Rocky Warlow testified, I think it was at the evidentiary hearing, and I have all those transcripts as well, that he collected the blood from Ed Somala during the autopsy, in order to test it. And a year later, he turned it over to David Board to be submitted to the crime lab. He kept Ed Somala's blood tubes collected at the autopsy in his possession for a year. Almost a year.
Right. On May 5th, 11th, and 12th is when Rocky Warlow testified in Reed's trial. And there's no mention of salmonella.
How many times did he testify?
3 times. The 5th, the 11th, and the 12th.
And he didn't mention Ed Somala one time? Because you better go back and read.
Okay, I'll do
How
that.
could he not mention Ed Salmonella? Ed Salmonella was
Because
the
he has
officer.
nothing to do.
The officer that found the truck at the school.
And that Ed Somala was, the defense was alleging that he committed suicide. That he may have committed suicide because he was distraught about what he did to Stacy. So they questioned Warlow. That did Fennell know Warlow? Did Salmalala know David Hall? Well, he may have known him, but I can't say that they were friends. Now, did you find any evidence linking Ed? See, there are questions there, and then they came back in that evidentiary hearing and built on it. And see, that's what was interesting. You see, the state. See, I came into this thing in February 2021 at the request of the newspaper. Now, right after I met with them, and and
Not
agreed to look
21.
at
Not 2021.
I'm sorry, 2001.
Okay.
When I met with them and picked up the files to review and called the Reeds, because I told the Reeds, look, I called Sandra Reed. She was out playing bingo. Talked to her son, Richard. Said that his mom was out playing bingo. Identified myself. Told him that I had been asked by the Smithville Times to look at this case and give my opinion. But I told them that I wouldn't do it without permission from Reed's family to have her call me when she got in. I never heard from her. I closed the file. And then I get calls from my county commissioner telling me that Texas Ranger Rocky Warlow has my driver's license picture on a wanted poster showing it around the county, stating that I should be considered armed and dangerous. And the commissioner meets with me and tells me that he believes they're setting up a hit on me, that if I get pulled over at night and I reach to the glove box for my insurance paper, they will shoot me. And I'm like, that's bullshit. And then I hear that Rocky Warlow is set to testify at that evidentiary hearing that I didn't know anything about. The reporter didn't tell me there was an evidentiary hearing on March 15th, so I wasn't going. But it's pretty obvious now because I personally knew Rocky Warlow. I even chastised his butt in late February for being incompetent in an investigation, a criminal investigation, that he was conducting for me. And I had to do it with the Texas National Resource Commission and Governor Bush's executive aide. And we caught the people, had the chemicals confiscated, and Warlow calls me and says, "Oh, Dave, I've done everything. I can't find any evidence." And I had to tell him, "Warlow, it's already done." "What do you mean it's done?" I said, "I already did it." With the TNRCC, they have the DDT family member chemicals. They're destroying them. It's all done. Well.
So,
I
but don't go too
tried.
far into this now, Fish. Don't go too far into this story.
No, I'm
now,
just
Fish.
saying these are the people that, Patrick, you're believing in. And what got me wrong on this with the Ranger Warlow is when he called me back with that BS about him not being able to find anything. Well, if he was doing the investigation, he would have come across the investigation that Governor Bush's office was doing with me and the Texas National Resource Commission. He would have had to have come across it and realized there was a second investigation going on. But he wasn't doing anything. And then I told him that one day I would show him how to do an investigation, and never occurred to me when the newspaper asked me to look at the Reed case that Rocky Warlow would have been the Texas Ranger involved. But boy, let me tell you, when he found out that I was looking into the Reed case, he mistakenly thought it was based on me telling him that I would show him how to do an investigation. And that started the intimidation stuff. And it blew up in his face, because if he had left it alone, I'd have never looked at the Reed case. It was because he took my driver's license picture, put it on a wanted poster, showed it around, and I caught him. And not only did I catch him, I caught the head of special crimes with the DPS, and he got fired over it because he was with Warlow on it. So this is what you're dealing with in Texas. Texas Rangers, as a general rule, are not trustworthy. Now, I've only found one in 30 years that I would trust. And I used to work with the DPS Investigations Division when I was dealing with the Postal Police. But this is the first time I'd ever dealt with a Texas Ranger, and right off the bat. Since then, I've looked at lots of Ranger reports. They're awful.
So let me ask this question. Patrick.
Yes.
As it relates to any other case in Texas, have you looked into any of them?
I looked into any other case in Texas. Yes.
Have you looked at, there was this one guy. Yeah, actually, he got me started on this whole wrongful incarceration thing. A guy by the name of Richard Miles. You looked into his case?
His name is Richard what?
Miles.
I think, you mentioned him before, first time I was on, and I looked into it.
So
Richard Miles, innocent.
So, considering that testimony was given and everything, and he was convicted, did time in prison, does that give any indication that something could be amiss? Does that give any indication that this is not a one-time thing?
It's certainly not a one-time thing, but every case is different, and there's no real. The absurdity of some of what David is talking about is outlandish, and so I don't judge whether Rodney Reed raped and killed Stacy Stites based on Miles.
Okay. Let me ask you this. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get a lot in for the last 15 minutes of this broadcast. Do you believe Rodney Reed raped Angela Hamby?
I believe it seems likely that the evidence points to him and that he has an outstanding...
Which evidence?
Oh, I mean, I'm not ready to go case by case. I'll do as best as I can, but
Go.
you know,
Give your best shot.
yeah. So with Hamby, she testified that she didn't know who it was who raped her, but DNA evidence pointed towards Rodney, and from what I remember, that was pretty damning evidence. You know, back when the Innocence Project started, it was all about DNA evidence. DNA evidence is the beginning and end of things. And so it seems likely, based on that evidence, that Mr. Reed did rape Angela Hamby.
How would he have done it if he wasn't in the city?
I don't think there's any strong evidence that he wasn't in the area. There's conjecture, but there's no true evidence.
Conjecture from where?
I think you've said before when we spoke, and you said that he was under parole and couldn't leave the area. But I don't know that there's. You didn't say that?
Mm-mm.
What are your thoughts on it? On his being able to be in Bastrop or be where Angela Hamby was?
So, well, there are a few things that happened here. One of them was the fact that traveling between Wichita Falls and Bastrop, he was required to check in with law enforcement.
That's what I just said. You said that you didn't use that. That's what I was just saying.
Right. So after letting them know that he was leaving, you're saying that the evidence shows that he stuck around and raped Angela Hamby?
Wait a second. I'm confused. I just said that you were going to say that he was restricted because of his parole. And you said that you never said that.
He was out on bond. He wasn't parole. It was a bond
Oh,
he was under.
I never said anything about parole.
Did you say bond?
I didn't say bond either.
No, he didn't say anything.
Let
me bring this around.
Wait. I need.
You're paraphrasing. So you're paraphrasing.
Please.
You're basically paraphrasing, then, right?
Look, Patrick, I have the file. And what the file, and these are David Board's, I have David Board's notes, his investigative reports, the people he interviewed on the Hamby rape. She named her rapist.
That's a lie.
James Slaughter. She named him.
That's a lie.
He admitted to it. It's not.
DNA was tested, and he did not admit it. James Slaughter was tested, and it wasn't his DNA. It was Rodney Reed's DNA.
No, that's the bullshit that they put out, Patrick.
She
for
was 12 years old. She was 12 years old. She said that she didn't know who raped her. She said that. The guy that was her boyfriend, Angela Hamby's boyfriend at the time, set out most of the night, the day that the time that she was supposed to have been, the next day she was supposed to have been raped. He sat out front on the porch with Rodney, talking to Rodney about boxing. It's all hearsay.
Rodney didn't want to have nothing to do with Angela Hamby. She got all mad and flustered because he ignored her. These are in the reports from Angela Hamby and her boyfriend that David Board took back in 1989. They're typed up and signed by him.
God.
Oh my God.
Hold on.
Really?
Hold on. Do you believe that Joy Monfort lied when she told the story of Angela Hamby?
I believe she could have, seeing how she is she was close.
Nobody can be trusted but the state.
She's close to who?
No, screw you. I didn't say that.
Hold on, Fish. She's close to what?
She's close. We've gone over this before. She's close to Rodney. She was dating her cousin, ultimately married his cousin, and is very excited about telling everybody that it was slaughter. But you know what? Angela Hamby testified when she was older that she never knew who did it. But you guys keep on going around saying that Angela Hamby,
who has under indictment, who was under indictment by the Bastrop DA's office.
No need to disparage her.
She didn't know, and the DA's office dropped the indictment after her testimony.
Wait, hold on, Fisher. Hold on a second. Are you aware that James Slaughter is also a relative of Rodney Reed?
Yes.
So how is it that she's going to pick up for one relative and not the other?
Because well, you want my guess? I wasn't there, but you want my guess?
Oh, go ahead. That's all you have. So go ahead.
Right. I think it was a great way to confuse the investigation because Reed raped Angela Hamby, and then with them saying, "Oh, it was slaughter," that makes the investigation confusing, and then they can say that Rodney wasn't even in town, even though he was.
Rodney was in town up to the day before.
How do you? There's no documentation.
Yes, there is. Rodney had to sign in with the Bastrop Police Department, part of his bond requirements when he arrived in Bastrop, and had to sign out with him when he left. He left the morning the day before Hamby was raped.
That's baloney. Baloney.
No,
you're saying there's no check in and out of the
Excuse me, Patrick. This is between me and you. You have no records. You don't have any of the file, which I have.
You have no records. You have no records that Rodney Reed was where he was the night that Angela was raped.
He had already gone back to Wichita Falls. They left that morning.
You don't have any records of that. You don't have any records of that.
I'm sorry, Patrick. But,
hold on.
No, Kevin. Let me close this out because this is I've taken away a lot of time tonight. And I'm going to be up till 4 a.m. putting together documents for one of the major newspapers that's working a big busting story.
Yeah.
And you'll catch it, Patrick. You'll see it. But here's the deal: the truck is the most critical piece of evidence in the Reed case. It either convicts him or acquits him. That's simple. And the evidence in the truck acquits him because it shows emphatically, this is what Michael Bodden, all the medical examiners, everyone that's ever looked at the truck and looked at Stacy, and the pictures, and the discharge, the nasal discharge, and the autopsy reports all say the same thing. She died before midnight, the day that her body was found. Only then could her body have been in such an advanced state of decay, that you would have that nasal discharge. And since that's
been struck down in every appeal.
I'm sorry?
Every appeal is shot down.
Look, Patrick. Rodney's attorney. I went and brought in Rodney's attorney, Bryce Benjett, and recognized very quickly I had made a major mistake. And I'm going to tell you, as I've said repeatedly on Kevin's show, if Barry Scheck is representing you, you better run for cover. Because that is the most corrupt operation I have ever run across. And I've been dealing with the Innocence Project for 20 years.
Well,
so we talked about Angela Hamby, and then you skate away from that with all this BS. I mean,
look, Patrick, I'm talking to somebody who lives in another. I'm talking to somebody who doesn't do research, who's not involved. He's never. Have you ever earned any money, been paid to do research in a criminal case by anybody, by an agency, by an individual, anybody? I have. For 30 years.
Doing cabinets in kitchens.
I'm sorry?
I make money making cabinets for kitchens.
Okay.
And my family has a cabinet shop. Do you know that?
So, well,
But,
you know,
I office out of that cabinet shop.
But it doesn't matter, right? Because you can't argue from authority. You can argue facts.
Hey, I've helped my family out and built cabinets and worked in that cabinet shop for them when they needed me. So I built cabinets too. But see, the difference is, I built cabinets, but you've never done any investigation. You are a critic. And there's place for critics, because critics raise issues to be resolved. But see, there's a critic, and then there's a dishonest critic. And you fall in the dishonest critic because no evidence can convince you other than what you want to believe, which means you have to have a dog to hunt in this case, or you just have nothing else to do.
David, there's been 20 years of trials and appeals. So don't look at me.
Okay. Wait, Fisher, hold on. Fisher.
This is between me and him.
No, wait.
Okay.
It's still my broadcast. I still call the shots here. I
have to defer to you because you have the plug. Go ahead.
So there has been 20 years of testimony and appeals and whatever else. So you're saying that people who are innocent have not spent 30, 40, 50 years in prison?
Before it was proved they were innocent?
Patrick,
do you think that's what I said?
I'm asking you a question. I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm not putting words in your mouth. I'm asking you a question. It's a yes or a no.
It's a no.
Okay. So, when information is being presented as it was related to this case, murder of Stacey Stites, conviction of Rodney Reed, how much investigation and reports do you possess other than this records request and outside of the transcript?
All that I need.
Which is what? I have documents. I have documents that I have received.
Documentation of all of the videos that Mr. Fisher has produced or been part of.
I never produced a video.
I've
never produced anything.
He was interviewed in a documentary. He didn't produce it. It's not his production.
Patrick, just to be clear, that documentary came out in 2006. The interview of me in that documentary was obtained October 1st, 2001. And I gave it to him because these two guys were UT film students, graduate film students, and they did their graduate film thesis on the Reed case. They took those clips. I never knew that they were doing the documentary, and I never gave them permission to use me in that documentary.
Do we have to close it at 12 o'clock?
Yeah, we're closing up at midnight.
Okay, so let me just say this is the last time that I'll bother you guys. This is the last time I'll participate in probably anything like this, because it is it's like nailing jelly to a tree talking to you about a point.
Exactly the way I feel, Patrick. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, when I talk about the truck and you start skating away from that issue when you are...
Well, I talk about evidence and you talk about your opinion. Do you see the difference where the jelly lies?
No, I talk about facts. But the thing is...
Wait, Fisher, David, hold on.
That people don't lie about analyzing a truck like you in your pretend world. It's not a case of everywhere that Rodney is nailed to the cross is suddenly didn't happen.
I don't know
because of
where your
reason.
dog to hunting this is, but you know somebody or you're related to somebody in this because you have a dog to hunt in this. I don't.
No, this
I'm
is the
dealing
last
with
time.
the truth and the
This
facts.
is the last time I'm ever going to talk about this because I
That's fine.
really
It's no
really
sweat.
don't.
It's no sweat
The
off
thing is,
my
I
back.
really don't have a dog. It's absurd the amount that I've given to this, considering the fact that I really don't, except for the fact
I've given
it just bothers me
22
so
years
much.
and has spent 22 years pulling records on this case, and
you ain't
it's
pulling
been
records.
my
That's a
stuff
hard
that
thing to
stopped
do.
Rodney's. Both executions of Rodney were stopped by me.
Oh yes,
It was my
I
records
agree to
that
disagree on that because that's bullshit.
Well, all you
Here's
have
the
to
thing.
do is go look, and you'll find out that I gave KXAN TV the fact that the judge who signed the execution order no sooner signed it and then feigned mental incompetency and was removed as a judge.
Hold up.
Hey, don't break your arm patting yourself on the back, Fish. It's all pretend.
Hey, I just cite. If what I tell you pats me on the back because it's fact, then you know what? It doesn't bother me.
Hold on. Hold on. So we tend to have, well, first of all, thank you to all my affiliates. This is going to be just over midnight that we got done, but thank you to all my affiliates for carrying this broadcast. Catch up with you guys tomorrow with Healthy Love right here on the Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew. Truly appreciate each and every one of you.
By New York Island Worldwide Radio. Good night, China Nicole.
Patrick?
Yes.
Don't be disrespectful.
How is that?
Don't be disrespectful.
How is that?
So, thank you to my affiliate. Truly appreciative of you. Now, there is this whole concept of facts. And yes, it's a fact that information is presented at trial. It is a fact. And it is documented by way of the court transcript. The fact. It's also a fact that those are not all truths. And in all trials, what is documented you have lies. So within your facts, you have truth and you have lies. Within your truth, it's truth. So, not all fact is true. That's what it boils down to. And when you take a position and you say, it is a fact that, okay, present the evidence to support this fact. What Fisher has come on this broadcast since 2019 and did was, here are my findings as per my investigations. Here are the results, the responses as per records requests. As he gives the responses, he also sends the records requests. I present the information as I get it. You have been the first person to step up and say, I am in opposition to this, and here is why. And I commend you for that. Thank you for that. I appreciate of you, the fact that you did that. Because it goes to show that not everyone is of the same mind. Everyone has an opinion. That's fine. When we take our opinions and that becomes gospel, that is not quite fine. When you go with an opinion and you have nothing supporting it, it's just using charm and charisma to convince the masses who are easily led. This is why I have said to you from Jump Street, present me with your evidence. You started tagging me and stuff on Twitter, and I told you, I am not one to be going back and forth on social media. Not going to happen. I'm not going to waste my time doing that. If you have something to present, I have a platform for that. Come to my platform. I'm not going on somebody else's platform and I have one. No, not going to happen. So you've come here. The only thing that you've presented to me is this records request and opinions. Now, you're free to come back. You said you won't? You're free to do that too. No water. No water off my back. You know, it's...
Let me
appreciate
step
it.
in just a second.
One
here,
sec,
Kevin,
one
just
sec,
real,
Fish.
real
One,
quick.
I know.
Because
I know you gotta go.
Well,
but one sec.
No. I just wanna, because Patrick, I appreciate. You're the only contrary point of view on the Reed case that is willing to come on, and discuss it. Kevin and I discussed this earlier today. That appreciate that you would, take the time to voice the other side of an issue. But you have access to this PDF that Kevin posted up. I don't know whether you're online or anything and you can see it.
I can only he flashed it on YouTube. I don't know if it's
okay. Well,
I can
email
forward it to you.
You can forward it to him.
In fact, I'll do it right now.
The reason being is, in the very beginning, it gives the VIN number to Jimmy's truck and the license plate number. If you go back and narrow your public records request, and in Texas, all you have to do is the way I found my public records request. I email it to the general counsel and of the DPS, and it simply goes, please find by this email my request under the Texas Open Records Act for, you don't have to cite 552, just cite Texas Open Records Act, and then tell them what you want. And in this case, tell them that you're seeking the log in and log out of this vehicle, this license plate number for the month of April, 1996. And they're going to tell you very succinctly whether they have the records or not.
David, can I just make a point here? You're saying that this DPS that you say if the truck was in the garage, they would have had it in a logbook because
they have they log they have to log evidence in and out.
But you're also saying that this same DPS produces a person who would lie under oath in detail for hours on hours about analyzing a truck.
Ad nauseum.
It doesn't. What?
Ad nauseum. They do it all the time. You simply have to verify. I'm sorry?
Do you think it would be difficult for this guy to Wilson Young to be on the stand for 2 to 3 hours asking detailed question after detailed question when he, for some reason, has not ever looked at the car?
Will Young has been doing this for as long as he's been at the DPS. I mean, look at it. Here you have the first attorney that was hired by Rodney, Jimmy Brown, request as the attorney of record for Rodney, ask for the documents on the truck. And they tell him right off the bat they don't have any. And nothing has changed. Here we are, 24 years later, and nothing has changed.
So you believe him? You don't believe testimony that this guy gave under oath about his job, but you believe a former lawyer,
an attorney. Now, understanding an attorney that the family told that they could pay $50,000 to retain him, and he came in, and they couldn't, so he withdrew.
Well, he also had another problem. He also had a conflict of interest. But
I don't think I've ever seen that. But I tell you,
lawyers
I'm
lie,
sorry?
just like you're saying all law enforcement people lie. Lawyers lie
look,
too.
Look, you're dealing with Patrick, you're dealing with a guy who works primarily for attorneys. I consult for attorneys primarily, and some judges, but I deal with attorneys, and let me tell you, attorneys are not my favorite people. To be honest with you,
Right.
I
So
know
this guy could
very
be lying.
few. I know very few honest ones, but they're out there. And in this case, the worst attorney Rodney had, the most corrupt attorney Rodney had, was Calvin Garvey. And Calvin Garvey, everything he did, I mean, he was one lie after another all the way through this case. The documents, the motions that he filed. If you have the full file, you see it. You see him actually helping the state. That's why when Karen Begley is about to describe in great detail the burns of Stacy's breast, it wasn't the state that cut him off. It was Calvin Garvey. And every time that a state witness gets close to disclosing some really key pieces of evidence, it's Calvin Garvey that cuts him off. You see, I've talked to Calvin Garvey. I've talked to Jimmy Brown. I've talked to and are really good friends with Rodney's attorney from Wichita Falls. And we talk fairly often. It's, it's sad to say, but things are not like they appear to be in our Texas criminal justice system. And if you simply watch in the next couple of months, you're going to see such hell break out in Texas.
Let me ask
and it
you,
can be as early as this week, and it'll be in the national press.
Going back
when
to
it starts, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. We go back to our thesis statement before we close here. Going back to the truck. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely is it, do you think, that the truck was analyzed
Zero.
by... You think it's zero? Okay.
Zero.
So you think
the reason
that...
being, like I've said from the beginning, when I looked at this file back in 2001, I told the state I told the newspaper right off the bat that it's the truck that controls this case. If the evidence in the truck is looked at, it's conclusive that Stacy's body had been in that truck since the early evening of the 22nd until around 5:30 on the 23rd when her body was found. Now, I'm going to send a report. Have you seen the report from the officer who found the truck in the high school parking lot? Paul Alexander?
I believe I've seen it before, yeah.
Okay, Paul Alexander says there's a bag of clothes in the pickup behind, in the rumble seat, behind the passenger seat, when he flashlighted the truck at 5:30 in the morning. When they come back to the truck around 7:30 after Stacy's reported missing, there's no bag of clothes in the truck. You know where it's found? In the dumpster. Yeah. So whoever was setting up that truck was...
I think the reason for that is they saw a bag and they saw clothes, and those bags and clothes were still in the truck, but no one recognized them as a bag of clothes.
I talked to the officer.
So how did they end up not in the truck?
Yeah, they were gone. It was a clear trash bag of clothes.
They were still in the truck. There's
I'm
pictures
sorry?
of them still in the truck.
No, they weren't.
Yeah,
no.
There's a bag and there's clothes, and it was kind of like
they're
gym-related clothes.
in the dumpster. There are pictures when the officer canvassed.
There's a big bag of clothes in the dumpster, but it has nothing to do with the bag and
there
clothes.
There are two bags of clothes in the dumpster. I personally talked to the officer. Know the officer who canvassed them and found them. His name was Walker. Walker was a sheriff sergeant who was helping Ed Samala canvass the parking lot. He's not, because he's a sheriff deputy, he's not allowed to touch any of the evidence. He walks it, he finds it, he notifies Ed. Ed goes over and has the sheriff deputy with the camera taking pictures, helping out, Robert Foster, take the pictures of the bags in the dumpster, and then they're collected. And then they are made to disappear really fast. But when I asked Sergeant Walker, why are the clothes a big deal? And he says, Dave, anytime we find clothes in a backpack, anything around a school, it's an indication that a student is likely to run away after class. So we have to conduct an investigation. So when I saw those bags of clothes in the dumpster, the first thing I noticed, look for is, did they look like rags that were thrown away? And he said, no, they were not. These were nice clothes that nobody would throw away. And they collected them.
So what were
and
those
Ed
were all
Samala,
Stacy's clothes? Those were all Stacy's clothes?
These are the only two clear plastic trash bags with clothes in them. They're in the dumpster across the parking, in the same parking lot, but the other end from where the truck is. And this matches exactly what Paul Alexander said was in one bag, was still in the truck when he arrived, which means it was the crime scene was still being staged at 5:30 in the morning.
Is Stacy's clothes?
Huh?
They were Stacy's clothes, is what you're saying?
Well, who knows? Because when Ed brought hear me out. When Ed brought them back in his report, Chief Ronnie Duncan took possession of them. They sat at his desk, and then in Rocky Warlow's report that he rewrote all the evidence in the spreadsheet after Ed's death, he changed the collector of the clothes from Ed Samala, Bastrop Police Detective Ed Samala, to Bastrop Police Detective Chris Walker. And when I brought this to the attention of Chris Walker in 2001, he threw a wall-eyed fit because he said that's what Tanner was trying to get him. She was trying to manipulate him into committing perjury on the stand in the Reed trial, trying to admit evidence collected at the parking lot. And he couldn't understand why she kept saying, well, you collected. He didn't know they rewrote that report of what Ed collected in Chris's name. And he kept telling her he didn't collect any evidence. He's a sheriff detective. He can't touch evidence in the city limits of Bastrop. And she threatened him, and she threatened to destroy him if he didn't, testify that he found this evidence. See, I talk to these people. Everybody's lying. Everybody's making things up. I'm telling you, I'm talking to the people looking for the evidence. I have no dog to hunt in this. I don't know Rodney.
Yes, you do.
All right,
I've never met Rodney. I didn't know anything about the case. I lived in Houston. I was green, as a sapling when I agreed. The only reason I agreed to do this was as a favor to the reporter, because I had background in doing research in these type of investigations. That's why he asked me to give him my opinion as to whether Rodney killed Stacy or the evidence says that Jimmy Fennell killed Stacy. I couldn't care less.
Yeah, you
But
could.
when I looked at the records, there was no doubt that
there is no doubt
that Jimmy killed her and staged this thing, and nothing has changed. It's only gotten the evidence only is building, not dissipating. Now, does the state have a dog to hunt in this? Oh my God, yes. If this thing comes apart, a lot of officials in this state's butts are going to roll. But it's gotten to the point now that this is spread out into so many other cases that there's almost nothing that's going to save this state in the criminal justice system of Texas. And the next big domino to fall comes in El Paso in the Walmart shootings.
Yeah.
All of that now is in play.
I don't know how much time we have here yet, but I'm going to send you the.
We're about done.
The 30.
I'm just giving you a little
40,
heads up, so when you see it hit,
He doesn't care about the heads up though, Fish. So
I'm
it
having a
doesn't
real hard
matter.
time with this truck thing, and with you thinking that this detailed testimony is all made up. I mean, do you know what Occam's razor is, right?
yes, the simplest explanation is generally the best.
Right.
And that's fine and dandy, but reality, it doesn't work that way in reality.
So
it's a nice little saying. I'm sorry?
Is it possible that Wilson Young spent 4 or 5 hours being cross-examined about what he found inside the truck? Is it possible that he actually did inspect the truck? Or is it more likely that he made up every little aspect of this?
Okay.
And
let's go with your point. Wilson Young is a premier. Let me finish. Is a premier detective. He is years of work at the DPS. He is the senior investigative officer at the DPS crime lab, and he processed the truck as the chief officer, which he did. And yet, in his own report, he says that he didn't collect any of the bodily fluids on the floorboard of the truck because they tested negative for semen. And I'm going to tell you, if those were semen, that was an elephant in that truck with Stacy. But this is supposed to be this premier, top-of-the-line, Department of Public Safety criminalist who's in charge of this, in charge of the lab, and he didn't collect the biggest part of the evidence there for everybody to see. So out of place, and he didn't take one swab. He also goes on to say in another report that they ask him, did he take a sample? He says, no, it's a new truck, so I didn't want to cut a sample of the carpet out and damage the truck. Are you kidding me?
Something involved in a murder investigation.
It's mandatory, but this is a police officer's pickup. You see, when you have a criminalist do that, then his reputation is dead forever.
Where do you have this? I'm looking at his testimony.
Oh, it's in another report. I'll pull
Here
it.
you go again,
Look,
looking at
do you have
trial
any idea? Do you have any idea how massive my files are? How many thousands and thousands of pages? No,
it does matter though.
It's not so easy.
Wait,
for me to just pull them up because they're in multiple files. I've got to go back.
Hold on. Patrick, did you just say? Did you just say it doesn't matter the information, the records that were found? It doesn't matter? So you're saying all that matters is a court transcript?
All that matters is the truth. Doesn't matter what
Answer my question. Are you saying all that matters is a court transcript?
No, I'm saying all that matters is the truth.
Okay, so if all that matters is not the court transcript, and then that means other things matter, why are you not taking into consideration the other things that matter?
Such as what?
Evidence. Actual,
such as what?
Hard, written reports.
You know, Fish?
Well, I don't see any reports. I see the one that you showed.
That's right there.
Earlier.
That's right there. That right there. You don't see any. Have you requested, other than this request, have you requested any?
No, but you see, the way David...
Listen. You keep attacking David. Here's what I want you to do. Go and launch your own investigation. So, David, listen. It doesn't really matter what it is. If it is this, if it is something else, if you're going on a platform talking about it, going there with just looking at what you have heard or read as it relates to the trial transcript, it's just a piece of it when you know that corruption exists somewhere.
I know
so
these
in
documents-
New England, there's this guy, Sean Ellis. Thank you to my listeners commenting in the stew pot. 22 years in prison for the murder of a police officer. He didn't do it. You're in New England, you should know something about that. Go ahead and investigate that. You're there. You can literally step out of your home and go somewhere and get physical documents. And see how corruption could possibly work in a conviction. Fisher has put his feet on the ground in Texas because that's where he lives, and he sees it going on around him. He's been involved in investigations. I have no
I
reason
live
to
in the
doubt that.
county where this murder took place.
I have no
That's
reason to doubt that.
arguing
because-
from
you get?
authority,
Hold-
and I will only argue through logic.
Oh my
I
goodness.
only argue what the documents say.
Logic.
But the
hold on.
documents can lie.
Hold on. You say you argue through logic. Does your logic include any other documentation than a court transcript?
Yes, but I know that those documents can lie.
But the court transcript cannot.
They can lie too. You've proved that. But the documents that you have can lie as well, right?
So you are held on hard and fast on the fact that you believe pretty much primarily that what happened in court, all the evidence presented in court, is true.
I don't
Primarily.
think that all the evidence entered in
Primarily.
court was true.
Primarily.
No.
Then why would you believe without a shadow of a doubt that Rodney Reed is guilty?
Why do I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt?
You don't believe all the information presented at court is true, but you believe that Rodney Reed is guilty without a shadow of a doubt. How does that work?
How do you believe that he's innocent? You gather all the information that you can, and you come to a decision.
Based on the information that you can match up against what was presented in court.
Court, or through videos, or through podcasts like yours, or things
No. You see, this is where my podcast is different. And my podcast is actually a live broadcast that is then presented as a podcast. It's not something recorded and then presented out to people. It is live. So here's where mine is different. I am presenting information along with what is being spoken. So if you go back, you will see where I have shown some of these documents, these requests, these responses. I have shown them, just like I've shown yours. I've shown others. I've shown pictures. I've shown the blue panties and the green panties. I've shown them.
Were all those documents true?
Okay. Let's go ahead and think about that for a moment. Because if they're not true, then why not do another trial? Why isn't he entitled to another trial if those documents are not true?
What documents are we talking about?
Does it matter? You asked a general question, are those documents true? If they're not true, why isn't he entitled to another trial? A new trial. Why is he guilty? Why is he still supposed to be on death row? Because if you're saying the evidence that says he didn't do it is not true, then you're also saying the evidence that he did do it is not true, which means that he needs a new trial.
I'm saying a jury has weighed the evidence and given their decision. and judges have weighed the evidence and they've given their decision. I'm not saying I know what's true.
And a greater percentage of those jurors have now reversed themselves and said they didn't know any of this that is coming out. Had they known this. I'm sorry?
Yeah. I mean, you know,
if you lie to somebody and get a result, do you then say, oh, we stole that conviction fair and square? Because that's exactly what Lisa Tanner said in an interview once, that she stole that conviction fair and square.
Yeah, and again, you're just like, you're throwing stuff at the wall here. The thing is that, I mean, it's hard to have a conversation with you because then all of a sudden Lisa Tanner said this, and I don't know if she ever said that.
I thought it was the most amazing thing that anybody could ever say.
Do you understand how you can derail a logical conversation with stuff like that?
Well, I think maybe we have a different definition of logical conversations. But bottom line here is, if I saw anything in that file or anything afterwards that indicated to me with any possibility that Rodney was guilty, I'd be the first person to tell it.
Okay, so the truck being analyzed is wrong because it never happened. The woman who came and talked about how they were beaten and raped by Rodney, they are wrong because none of that ever happens. The fact that Rodney has no alibi, even after 25 years of this.
You see, but that's simply not true. There were many people. There were many people who could have testified.
He doesn't know where he was.
That's not true.
He doesn't know where he was. He said, maybe I was on my way to work.
Okay, 20 years later, somebody asked you, where were you that night? He doesn't remember. But you know what? Those people that were with him that have been out in the real world, not sitting in solitary confinement for 20-something years that has a really deleterious effect on your mind, they all say, and they gave statements at the time. Look, I have lots of affidavits from people. They were all together with Rodney that night.
Let me ask you a question. Let me pull a random question out and ask you. You think Ed Salmela turned his gun in to the when he got
Bastrop
killed?
Police Department.
Bastrop. Do you believe he turned his gun in?
I'll tell you what I know about that.
The day before he died?
Yeah, the AEDPA addresses domestic violence, and it doesn't mandate the surrender of weapons by the accused.
Okay. Hold on, Fisher. Hold on. My question is, do you believe he turned in his gun?
I don't know that there's evidence that he did.
So the affidavit where it was witnessed that he turned in his gun, that was a lie?
Perhaps. We've determined that people lie, right?
So why would you go ahead and say he didn't turn in the gun for sure when there's an affidavit that says that he did? Why would you lean towards because he got killed with it?
Why would he turn it in if he wasn't mandated to surrender it?
Well, why did he resign? Why did he resign
in '96?
It wasn't a requirement.
Do you know when the Anti-Terrorism Act went into effect?
Yeah, it was passed in '96.
The surrender of guns for domestic violence.
Right.
Do you know when? Did you know when that went into effect?
1996, April of 1996.
Right. And Ed Salmela is a police officer, and he's accused of domestic violence. Not just accused, but he was indicted. And once that happens, you have to turn in your weapons because he was indicted.
You're not mandated to surrender your weapons.
You are, and to this day you are. If you're indicted for domestic violence, you are required to surrender your guns. Now, whether they're enforcing it now or not, but they were back then. And Ed turned in all of his guns. And you know how we know that that's true? Because the woman who was there at the police station that gave the affidavit was there to pick up her neighbor's son who had just bonded out of jail because the neighbor didn't have access to a car. And so the neighbor was asked to go to the police station when he's released to drive him home, because the woman whose son it was wanted him brought home. And so the woman who's sitting there has no dog to hunt in this, knows Ed, because everybody knew Ed. Ed comes in, she's sitting there waiting for the processing out of the person she's there to pick up, which can be documented. Because
I think that could be a lie, though.
Oh my goodness!
No, it's documented.
Stop right there.
She was there to pick him up, and he was bonded out.
Fish. Stop right there.
Listen.
Stop right there.
If you can say
I have
that,
I have already shown the affidavit on this broadcast.
Right. So affidavits can be not truthful, right? Rodney Reed put an affidavit out that said he never met Stacey Stites.
You know, here's a true story. I once worked at the Salvation Army in Illinois, Evanston, Illinois. And there was a little girl in the after school program, which I was the director for. And this little girl was upset because I made sure that she didn't get to play and she had to do her homework. And because she was upset, she told a lie on me. Now, typically, we'd want to believe what children say because they wouldn't make up things. Right? Have you worked with children, Patrick?
Oh, I know children. Yeah.
Have you worked with children?
No, not as a job, but
okay, I have for many years. And children lie. And this little girl told a lie on me as the head of this program. Now, on paper, that doesn't look good at all. In reality, this little girl just lied. And I know of a former Salvation Army pastor who did time because two little girls lied on him because he wouldn't put the radio on a station that they wanted to listen to. So
everyone can lie.
Your thought process as it relates to people telling the truth and telling the lie seems to lean towards people who are not convicted. Because if they were convicted, then whatever was said about them had to have been true. So had I been convicted of this little girl's accusations, had it been something heinous that warranted an arrest and a conviction, then my telling the story would be me lying. Right? Because that's what I get from you.
Oh, really?
That's what I get.
I feel that way. I feel that there's very innocent people in this world.
You see, you don't feel that way. There are very innocent people in this world that what?
That have been convicted of things or accused of things that they are not guilty of. So I don't feel like
what
I'm
makes
biased.
any of them different from Rodney Reed? The fact that he has had several rape accusations, the fact that he did drugs. What?
Yeah, I mean,
because you do drugs, you're a bad person.
I didn't say that. but it seems like most females who came in contact with him didn't leave in good shape. It seems like his modus operandi included overpowering women for sex, sometimes aggressively, sometimes extremely aggressively.
What was
seems-
Jimmy Fennell arrested and convicted for?
I think, what is it, 4,000 days later, he was convicted for kidnapping.
I don't care when. What was he
Of course
He
you
was
don't.
not
convicted
convicted. He pled guilty.
arrested for?
He was not convicted.
He pled guilty and got a 10-year
Okay.
sentence.
Yeah, so there
For-
was a conviction.
Abducting, raping, and threatening to kill a woman if she
I don't
talked.
think he was. I don't think his punishment was for raping, but it was for
It was for
unlawful
rape.
imprisonment. I don't think so.
It was sexual assault.
Yeah, I think it was.
He
false
raped
imprisonment.
her.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, what he was in jail for?
Yes, but did you know there were half a dozen other women that came forward that he
Yeah,
attempted to do the same thing to them?
So did they lie?
I don't know. I don't know what I don't think he's a good person.
But
We've
well,
been through this
but
before.
but do
The
you
three
know
of us
that
have gone through this
did you
before.
know the DA? Do you know the DA's office withheld that from the judge?
That's conjecture.
I know. No, I gave
No
the
definite-
reports. I gave the reports to a reporter who went down and talked to the judge and asked him if the DA had told the judge about these other women. And he told her no, that he didn't. And she asked him,
That's conjecture.
would that make a difference?
Hearsay.
And he said, yes, it would have made a difference. And then he went into the file room at the courthouse to pull the full file on Fennell.
All right.
And I know because I was working that story with the reporter.
All right.
And I had those other statements from those other women.
All right. So people lie.
And the district attorney who did this didn't last very long.
You can't really trust anybody, can you?
Not just people.
Well, it's amazing
Hold on.
that all of these people get caught. They resign, or they get fired, or they get prosecuted. The state people
don't get convicted.
and it's to me, then to you, it's like I don't trust anybody. I can't do. I mean, are you kidding me? The problem is, Patrick, is for whatever reason that you have in your beliefs, they're not grounded in reality. They're grounded in your opinion. And I'm sorry, but opinions have a place. But opinions have no place when you're dealing with the evidence as it exists, as law enforcement puts out.
Right.
And if you catch law enforcement producing false records, and let me tell you, I deal with this stuff. The director of the DPS, a couple of years ago, started a criminal investigation of 2 Texas Rangers based on documents I brought him. And when he saw them,
you realize this whole arguing from authority is a logical fallacy. Every time you do that, you always do it.
Patrick, this is what I
it
do.
doesn't have any
7
place
days,
in this
7 days
conversation.
a week. This
We're
is what I
talking about the
do. This
details
is my
of the
business.
Rodney Reed
I
case,
deal with.
and you're talking
Patrick,
about.
this is my business. This is what I do.
Okay, let me go
How
ahead and
many
connect the dots.
news articles have you ever been quoted in the media?
Arguing
How many
from
times have
authority
you been
is a
interviewed
logical
as an
fallacy.
expert? How many times, Patrick?
So wait, Fish.
You have all the authority.
Fish, hold on.
That means you have all the logic.
So you should not listen to what someone who has the experience, who has information, who in for all intents and purposes, is an authority. You should not listen to what they have to say.
I didn't say that. I said you give it as much credit as it seems worth.
Question: when
Right?
you go to the mechanic and you say my car is making a crazy noise, can
Yeah.
you fix it?
Panic.
When he
Good
gives
choice.
his opinion, then you tell him no, that's not what it is.
More times than not.
Yeah, well, I have to agree with Patrick there. I don't trust my mechanic either, unless I know it for a fact.
So are you a mechanic?
No, but I know when a mechanic is padding the work order.
Yeah, I know enough to be leery, and clearly so does Patrick.
Good.
And same with lawyers. Same with same with
but you know this.
Rodney Reed,
you know this.
or former in-laws of Rodney Reed.
Patrick,
I mean, there's so much
you
lying
know
going
this.
on.
You know this based on experience and based on information that you have collected. Correct?
Well,
going back to my analogy. Yes.
More instinct than accumulated knowledge, but I know what you're trying to get at. You're trying to say that somebody who presents themselves as an authority should have a more weight to them in a conversation, and that might be true, but they still have to work to make their point.
You know what?
Rest on your authority. David,
what I appreciate.
Say I can agree with.
You know what I appreciate David for? The information that he gives to me on paper. That is not his creation. That's what I appreciate.
Yeah, you value that a lot. You think think it's all truthful.
I have an appreciation for it.
You value it.
Well, it is information.
Thing, right?
Here's the thing.
You value that information, but you don't value information that came from a adjudicated court case.
Wait, hold on. You mean the trial transcript?
The trial, the facts that came out, the testimony that came out during the initial trial, and the subsequent appeals, yes.
Are you aware of how many wrongful incarceration cases I have actually listened to from the individuals involved?
Have you read this trial at all?
I asked you a question.
You want me to
Are
answer
you
that? That's
aware?
Not a rhetorical question.
Do you know how many people I have spoken with who have been wrongfully incarcerated?
Do I know how many people you spoke with?
Yes.
Who have been wrongfully incarcerated?
Yes.
I believe that would be a guess, but let me say many.
Okay. I'm going to just go with no. You don't know. So
many.
when I come across something like this, where it is unfolding in front of me, and I'm being presented with information that refutes something that is presented in the trial transcript, why would I not pay attention to it?
Well, that'd be interesting if you could actually do that. I mean, but
I have been doing that. Tell you what, Patrick, I implore you, start your own podcast. Start your own broadcast. Start something. I implore you, go for it.
And just so you know, Patrick, both Kevin and I both, stand on this one fact, that if you read the trial transcripts,
guilty as sin,
you would only come to the conclusion that Rodney is guilty. But
guilty
if you
as
took the
sin.
trial transcripts and then looked at all the records as they really exist, not what the state said they were, things change dramatically. And you come away believing Rodney is innocent.
Well, I've seen your videos. I've seen You know, the
Again, you've
conversations
never
you've
seen
had.
my videos. You saw one snippet of an interview that was done by 2 UT film students in October 2001
wait, Fish,
for their
Fish,
graduate
Fish.
film thesis.
How can you tell him what he has seen? The man said he has seen your videos. He
I've
has seen
seen
your
you on
videos.
2020.
You have seen me interviewed by, and you may have
No,
seen
no.
me interviewed on 2020.
He
You
saw
may
the
have seen me
production. He didn't see the whole
interviewed
interview.
by A&E
I've had
TV.
conversations with you going back 2 years ago. I think it was the result of a, I don't know, USA Today article about Rodney Reed, where in the discussion section, you and I had a back and forth.
And USA Today took that from 2020. I never did an interview with USA Today.
No. It wasn't about, the article wasn't about you. It was about Rodney Reed, but you and I had a conversation in the comment section.
Oh, okay. You know.
So that was my first introduction to you, and then
it grew from there.
Through this, yeah.
It grew from there.
You know, again, I'll just leave you with this. You know,
I had thought that when you said Patrick that, you know, that I had dealt with you before, and that would have been where it is. I've been trying to place that ever since, but
I think
but
this is the third time. We've and again, my name's Kevin, but not to confuse the issues with the
host.
Stu.
Yes.
I just want to say that, you know, you guys are wondering why do I care about this, and I think I'm at the end of my rope. You know, in talking about this, Lord knows there's probably going to be news coming out, you know, in the next year about the Supreme Court.
Actually, a lot faster. The legislature is picking up the Rodney Reed case.
Okay.
I've been having discussions, and
I'll probably let it go. But you know, just so that you know, I don't know if you remember what really got under my skin. Not only this, you know, with Rodney Reed's behavior, but the way a lot of people callously look at this and make the demand that the Reed-Stacey Stites affair is a matter of fact, where, Jesus Christ, I can't, you know, it just doesn't make any sense. And it's not a black and white thing. It's a woman who's about to get married, who is supposedly hooking up with somebody who, you know, is involved with cocaine and not a job and not a house and not a, you know, it rubs me the wrong way that Reed went that way with his defense, but I can understand it because he's fighting for his life. But when I see people like Justice, what's her name, and you guys just callously saying, "Oh, but it's certainly possible that they could have a relationship." I don't know who
you're talking about. Justice, what's her name? I'm not familiar with.
You know, Justice CC. What's her name? Justice C.
I
don't know that person.
You know
in the comment, she's in the chat room. She's in the studio.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I still don't know.
Well, you know her. What's her name? What's her real name?
Are you talking about one of the girls?
Yeah.
Kevin. See, Patrick, you don't understand. I'm so busy that I do the interviews, but I don't have time to do any follow up on the chat rooms because I've got too many clients that are pushing too hard, for documentation, media outlets, and so it keeps me 100% busy. But here's something that you have to understand, and you can go pull.
Yeah.
Stacy's mother, Carol Stites.
This didn't happen. She told me that she never said this to you.
Never say who told you that?
But
you talked to Carol, and Carol said she never told me that.
Correct.
Well,
Did you talk to Heather?
I'm not going to say it doesn't surprise me, but here's the deal.
Did you talk to Heather?
Carol blogged during that 2020 on her Facebook to the other people in the discussion that the two people she relies on for information in her daughter's case is Lisa Tanner
that's not
and
true.
me.
That's not true.
What? I haven't. I have that clip. I have that.
She spoke disparagingly against you.
Look,
she said that
Carol.
She said that
Carol.
Well,
Carol has her own problems, but Carol, I don't lie.
All right. She's got
I
problems.
don't lie for anybody.
When she likes you, you don't bring up any problems. But when I tell you she doesn't like you,
now you
she's
see.
got
But
problems.
see, you've told me, you've just disclosed that you're a lot more involved than you say you are. You've been very deceiving because Carol Stites would not talk to anybody, and she surely wouldn't talk to a cabinet maker in New England.
Well,
so you're somebody.
Wait,
no,
hold
Patrick,
on,
Kevin, you're being very dishonest and deceitful. Because for Carol Stites to talk to you, you have to be someone who can give her information. That means you're with the state, with the DPS, with the crime lab, with the AG's office. You're somebody. No, stop lying. You just outed yourself. You don't. You did.
Hold on, Fish. Hold on.
Wow.
Did you speak with Heather too?
Heather Stobbs?
Yeah.
No.
Why not?
I've read her comments.
Did you speak with her though? Why didn't you speak with her?
I don't know.
You should try. You should try.
Huh?
You should try. She's really nice.
Is she on Facebook?
She's everywhere. She's on Facebook.
Everywhere.
She's on Facebook.
All right. Is she on? What's her Twitter?
I don't know what's her Twitter.
So,
she's on Facebook.
Wait a minute. Since I don't do social media at all, ever, zero, nada, never have, never will, are you saying you communicated with Carol
on
over Facebook, or you actually talked to her? Oh, okay. Then I withdraw. I can't. I withdraw what I said.
Yes.
Okay,
because you said you spoke. You said you spoke to her, and to me that means you had a phone conversation.
Like me,
no,
I spoke.
Justice for Stacey Stites Facebook page.
Okay, so see that's the difference. That's the difference. It seems like me, I spoke with Heather. I spoke with Joy. I spoke with Scott Salmella, Ed Salmella's brother. Spoke with.
Have you talked to anybody who thinks Rodney Reed's guilty besides me?
Nobody has called.
So they have to call, but
hey, you did. The platform is
I know.
here.
But as far as
I have an open platform. Open.
The people who you have on as guests with their picture and stuff, they are pro Rodney Reed.
I have an open platform. It's open.
Okay.
You want to talk? You want to present your case? Present your case. I gave you the opportunity.
You did, yes. No, I appreciate that.
And Patrick, if you ever came across any evidence that even suggested that he was guilty, I'd be the first person that would want to see it. Because if Rodney is guilty, and I see evidence that he's guilty, there will be no misunderstanding by anybody. Because, again, if Rodney's guilty, I'll be the first person. I see any evidence. I see anything that, that actually ties, which interlinks all of the evidence. And let me tell you, if he was guilty, I would have found it. But that doesn't mean it's not out there. But if I ever saw anything that convinced me he was guilty, I'd be on Kevin Stew's program telling everybody that I am now 100% positive that Rodney is guilty. If I ever see anything.
You just triggered
and
something
I
in me. Because
I'm sorry?
This is what makes me think that you are biased towards Rodney Reed. So you said that Jimmy Fennell, the morning that Stacey disappeared, drove to HEB and didn't look in the parking lot, and then
he made a U-turn and went straight back, according to the report.
Specifically, he didn't look in the parking lot.
No.
Mm-hmm.
But he testified that he did.
Look, Jimmy said a lot of things at trial that turned out not to be true, too.
But how would you know? I mean, Jimmy's the only one who presented what he did.
Who did Jimmy spend the day with all day that Stacey is missing?
You're changing the
Curtis
subject.
Davis.
You swore.
Curtis Davis.
You said
And Curtis
that
Davis,
he
I'm
didn't look
sorry,
in the
you never
but
you
the
never did see
testimony-
the transcript of what Curtis gave
Yes.
CNN in that interview.
Yeah, and he retracted it all. He retracted it
Have
all.
you-
We've already gone. It's all BS.
Look, I'm
Everything's
sorry, but when you sit down for an extensive interview,
Yeah, he talked out his ass. So he's a dummy, and he got punished for it, and he retracted everything. So he's a non-entity as far as this goes. But nonetheless,
Curtis
Jimmy,
Davis was a player in this.
He was not.
Fisher.
He was not.
Fisher. Come on. You know, the man wasn't a player. He's straight.
I'm sorry?
He wasn't a player. He's a non-entity. Leave it. He's a non-entity.
Oh, okay.
Leave it alone. I don't know why. I don't know why even the home wasn't searched or anything like that. But anyway,
thank you, Kevin.
I
appreciate you being on my side for once.
There's that too. You know, just leave it be.
He was being facetious. The reason that Jimmy Fennell's home wasn't
And I was being
searched is all of Stacy's clothes, everything that was hers in the apartment was in the dumpster.
That's a lie.
It's not.
Hey,
It's so much a lie.
Hey, listen.
You want to know why it's a lie?
Yeah, sure.
Because Carl told you.
Deborah and Crystal have both clearly stated that Stacy's clothing and belongings were in the apartment after her death. Crystal still has a pair of her boots.
Wait a minute. How long afterwards? Because guess where all the clothes and stuff went back? They had to give it to Carol. You see, that was the mistake Fennell made, and that's what panicked them, is that he threw everything Stacy owned in the dumpster. And
no proof of that. That's a lie.
I'm sorry? It's not.
No proof of that.
Well, let's just put it this way. That's what the documents show. Now, you're familiar with Crystal's son, right?
Doesn't matter. Now you're going off.
Are you familiar? I'm being very delicate here.
Only from what you've said.
Accused of everything Rodney is accused of, only 1,000 times worse.
That means not too much as far as what happened in 1996.
You're talking about a little girl riding her bicycle, and he and his friends abducted and sexually assaulted her.
What makes me think that you're pro Rodney, because you'll bring that up.
No, I'm not.
I mean,
I'm calling the kettle black. It's where a mother is, and look, I empathize with Crystal and Deborah because of what Lisa Tanner put them through.
Doesn't seem like you empathize too much.
She so abused that family over their sister, the daughter's death, that it prevented Crystal from paying attention to her own family and her son, which resulted in a disaster. And I'm telling you, when a family gets dragged through the mud like Lisa Tanner and Mitzi Wolf did to the Stites family, it infuriates me because Crystal's son is an offshoot of those two crazy women vindictiveness to prosecute. And let me tell you, Lisa
everyone's
Tanner
guilty
and
except
Mitzi
for Rodney,
Wolf.
huh?
It's not just
Everyone's
Rodney they
bad
did this
except
to.
for Rodney.
I'm sorry?
Rodney's a saint, and everyone else involved with this is bad. Right?
I've looked at other investigations of Lisa Tanner and Mitzi Wolf, and in fact, I have run them out of cases before.
Yep, they're bad.
Hold on.
They are criminals.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what, Fisher? Let me say this.
Are you going to tell me?
And we're gonna wrap up
in this, right?
Rodney, you said Rodney's a saint. We all know Rodney is no saint. However, the argument is, did Rodney kill Stacy? The evidence shows that there's questions that need to be answered. And this trial that put him on death row did not answer those questions. That's what is actually evident. That's what is actually true. And so we
That's
could
your
go
opinion.
we could go back and forth. And it is yours that he is very well and guilty, and this trial proved everything. But when you come across other evidence, when you come across cases that are linked, and you see miscarriages of justice, you have to ask questions. And all I've been doing is asking questions. You've heard me say it all the time. My job here is to stimulate your appetite and not satisfy your hunger. So when we're done, you should have more questions than you did when we got started. Why? Because you need to go out and do some work. I don't have all the answers for you. Neither does any of my guests. And when I say you, I'm speaking generally. You don't have all the answers to say why Rodney Reed is guilty. Fisher doesn't have all the answers to say why he's not guilty. However, Fisher has presented more evidence than you have. Over time,
Your
yeah.
opinion.
Okay. Let me say this again. Fisher has presented more evidence than you have.
To you.
Who else? Who else is here? Who else is here, Patrick?
Well,
Who else is here?
I'm going to close this with saying, Kevin, you said that you have the evidentiary hearing transcripts from 2001, March 15, 2001,
Yes.
and you have the exhibits that the state put into evidence. In particular, what I'm talking about are the DNA beer cans.
Yes.
Okay. Look at the testimony of Lisa Tanner and Mitzi Wolf.
No,
and
he doesn't
talking
look at testimony.
take a look. The exhibit is there. Look at the bait stamp numbers on that exhibit, on that lab report on the beer cans. The bait stamp number's in the 3,000 range.
Well, you don't have to tell
Lisa
me.
Tanner,
Suggest it
I'm
to
sorry?
Patrick. Suggest it to Patrick. I have seen it. Suggest it to Patrick.
No, that's what I'm talking about. I'm sorry. I said Kevin. I meant didn't
my name's Kevin, too.
Patrick say his real name is Kevin too?
Oh, well, yeah.
Okay, so I just went with his real name. But Patrick, do that way to keep the confusion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Look at the bait stamp number on that DPS DNA lab report on the beer cans. And then if you have the trial exhibits from the trial of Rodney in '96, they introduced into evidence the statements of the two young men that were supposed to have been with Lawhon when he murdered Marianne Alt. Look at the bait stamp numbers on the file that's Lawhon's file. You will see the bait stamp numbers are in the same number range. Rodney Reed's bait stamps never went above 2,000. Even in 2008, they had not exceeded 2,000. All the news articles that were introduced into evidence in the evidentiary hearings and the appeals still didn't even come within 1,000 documents of that bait stamp number on that beer can lab report, because that lab report is not for Rodney's DNA, it's David Lawhon's. All of the DNA they're using for Rodney in this case is David Lawhon's.
But, Fisher, you don't even have to mention that again, because Patrick has already heard that. In all honesty.
That's all you have to do is look at Lisa Tanner and the way she couches her answer.
The reason it did that is for what? Because they didn't want the right person convicted?
Because originally the intention was for Rocky Wardlow, David Board, and the sheriff later, but who was a player in this thing in the beginning, because Richard Hernandez was the deputy police chief in Bastrop when this took place. What they were doing is they were farming out death for hire. And you had two men that wanted their fiancés dead. Marianne Lawhon's
Marianne Alt.
common law husband. I'm sorry, Marianne Alt's common law husband, and Jimmy Fennell. And so they set it up to kill two birds with one stone. And they were going to, in Marianne Alt's ex-common law husband, wanted Marianne Alt's boyfriend, who was sleeping with her for the full 10 years of that common law marriage. He wanted him dead.
What do you see, Fisher?
He wanted both murders pinned on him. Now, understanding that this guy who pled guilty, David Lawhon, he had been having an affair with Marianne Alt for the full 10 years. And I get this from his family. For the full 10 years that Marianne Alt was married to her common law husband. Marianne Alt's common law husband was 10 years older than she was. Marianne Alt was 10 years older than the guy she was dating. He was 26 when they forced him to plead guilty to her murder, which means that their relationship started
when he was 16.
15, 16 in high school. And that's what the family tells me, that and they have nothing to hide. Marianne Alt was his sugar daddy. It was basically a Marianne Letourneau relationship.
But
they staged all of the DNA for David Lawhon. And when David Lawhon wouldn't plead to Stacy's murder, then they had to go after Rodney, but they had already cast the die. And that's why the documents don't work.
You see, Fisher, you've created a scenario around the beer cans. Until there is hard evidence to say, yeah, this is what had happened. That's all that it is, a scenario around the evidence.
But then when I go ahead and file public records request for the DNA evidence, run for, Angela Hamby, for Stacy, they never ran any single DNA test for Stacy. This is what the state says.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense if the storyline is true. But if they've taken DNA that they already submitted into the record in the Marianne Alt and the Lawhon case, and then they're going to, because Lawhon pleaded guilty, so none of that was introduced into evidence, then it's easy to say, oh, this is Rodney's DNA and this is Stacy's. But you see, they screwed up.
Not only did they have Rodney's DNA, they had his brother's and his father's. So if it was
and you know what? There's where it falls apart, because in trial they had Rocky Warlow testify about taking the DNA from Rodney's brothers and his dad and running it. And there's the problem, and I put this out to Barry Scheck and his bunch. Take the DNA of Rodney that they allege is Rodney's dad and brother's DNA, rerun it, and Rodney's, and you're going to find a problem.
Let me just...
the DNA that they're alleging is Rodney's won't match the brothers and the father.
I think one of the first times we spoke, not last time, the time before, we got in an argument whether crack is cocaine or not. But and I couldn't come up with...
What cocaine is simply crack is simply cocaine dissolved in water with baking soda. And then the water evaporated away, so the cocaine binds with the baking soda to make.
Degenerated from a comment that I sent this to you, Kevin Stu. It was a court filing that said that Walter Reed's father, Reed's father, stated that Kelly Bonjuli, who worked at HEB, told him that he knew where Stacy was the night she was killed. And Bonjuli also supposedly told Walter that he and his family had been tailed during Reed's trial by police. And he said that he wanted to talk with someone before he said anything about the case. Considering these statements, the trial judge found that they were not credible or persuasive. Reed failed to submit an affidavit from Kelly Bonjuli. The state obtained an affidavit from Bonjuli that discredited Walter Reed's statement. Bonjuli stated in this affidavit, "I never told Walter Reed that I knew where Stacy Stites was on the night she was killed. All I ever told Walter was that Rodney Reed was a crackhead who raped girls on the railroad tracks. I have no idea where Stacy Stites was when she died."
And you know what's interesting about that?
Yeah, I do.
That Rodney Reed was not ever a suspect in the rape, and Vivian Harbottle, in her statement to David Nord, told him that the rapist knew her daughter. And her daughter didn't know Rodney Reed, but her daughter knew Pat Barnett. And Pat Barnett was the one running around town telling everybody he raped Vivian Harbottle on the railroad tracks. And the woman who lived at the cross street before the railroad trestle where the rape took place saw Pat Barnett, who she personally knows, and Vivian Harbottle, Pat Barnett following drunk Vivian down the tracks behind her. And then she saw Pat Barnett returned all disheveled after the train, and she accused him of having sex with Harbottle on the tracks. And David Ward and the police wouldn't take her statement and she's telling them, "I saw them." The guy who was with Pat Barnett when they were walking down the tracks and saw Harbottle drunk staggering down the tracks in front of them, told Pat to leave her alone and come on. They were supposed to be at somebody else's house. Pat ignored him. He left. Next day, this guy finds out that Harbottle was raped, and he knew exactly who did it because he was with Pat when Pat was following Vivian and broke away and went where they were supposed to be going. So there's all of this. See, you don't understand Bastrop. You won't understand Texas. You may, because I'm not convinced now that you are truly who you say. It's irrelevant to me.
It is irrelevant.
It's totally irrelevant.
If you want to waste time
the point is, you know, I know many of these people. I had probably before Ronnie Duncan passed away, I probably had 50 conversations with him from 2001, you know, to later.
You have a lot more experience than I do. Let me ask you, having as much experience, especially in Texas, has there ever been a case that you know of where so many women, including people who had a relationship with, have come forward and lied in tandem about being raped, sexually assaulted by somebody? Has that ever happened before?
I've never seen a case like this ever.
So you have never seen anybody
in general. See, look, I you know, when you talk about logically approaching things, that's what I do, and logically, my inclination is, look, I have 3 sisters. You know, my inclination is to believe the women, and you know, I believe in Ronald Reagan's old saying, "Trust but verify." And you have to do that. I've caught my sisters lying about some things in the past that were, that could have led to something extremely serious. Just to be vindictive in the moment, not realizing the consequences. So, yeah, I know that people can make bad decisions and claim things that could end somebody's life just being vindictive and not thinking it out. I've seen that happen, and I've had to intercede to stop it. But generally, I trust the women. And in this case, when I took this case, I didn't know anything about the case. I didn't know about the allegations of Rodney and the rape, and you know what? It rattled me when I saw those. I'm going, what the hell? Am I doing? If this guy, maybe he didn't kill this woman, but if this guy is as bad as it looks, would I want to help get him off so he could do it again? I'm telling you, that's exactly the way I thought when I first started looking in this case in March 2001. And then but I have to trust and verify. And so I start digging deeper. I start pulling records, transcripts, and all of a sudden a different story emerges. Like the woman from Wichita Falls. Have you seen the trial transcript on that alleged rape? You've seen the trial transcripts?
Yeah.
Have you seen the witness statements?
I've seen.
When you read and are you aware? See, the thing that killed the jury is the victim claimed that she was a virgin when Rodney allegedly raped her.
Oh yeah, that's what rape lawyers always go after, right?
Well, no, that's not what did it. It was the state's results on the rape kit that turned everything on its head. Because she had a venereal disease. But Rodney didn't have it. And if Rodney had had sex with her, he would have.
So he didn't have sex? He said he had sex with her.
Huh?
He admitted that he had sex with her.
If he was the person who had it and gave it to her if she was a virgin, but he didn't have it. So she wasn't a virgin, and she lied about it, and she didn't catch it from Rodney.
Did he catch it from her?
He didn't have it.
He didn't have it. So
how did he have sex with her if she had
No, you can have sex with somebody who have a venereal disease and not catch it.
But it's likely.
But
if
she's a virgin and she had the venereal disease, she would have had to have caught it from Rodney. And that was the first thing that undermined her testimony. And then when you read the rest of it, it gets more and more unbelievable as it goes along.
You know,
the trial was like 3 or 4 years after the rape, right?
And whose fault is that?
Well, the thing is that who knows?
That was the DA. That was the district attorney Barry Maka, who didn't have a case, and was hoping Rodney would stump up somewhere else, and then he would create 2 cases, and it never happened.
He ended up going to jail for hitting her.
You know what's interesting?
He was arrested for the sexual assault.
No, he was put in jail for...
It was a sexual assault and the battery occurring in the sexual assault. But it was a sexual assault, not the battery. Now, I know Barry Maka. Do you know what happened to Barry Maka? The DA?
Sounds like
he had to resign in 2010 in front of them shutting down the medical examiner's office that he had run for 30 years illegally. I shut down the Wichita Falls medical examiner's office in 2010 for being illegal. for 30 years, and they executed people under that scam run by Barry Maka, the DA. He resigned just right when the commissioner's court announced they were shutting it down. He resigned as the DA.
Wow. When you get stuck with the fact, you are good at moving away from it.
You can go online. The stories were run by TV News 6 out of Wichita Falls. Interviews, with them interviewing the county judge and the sheriff, all responding back to my allegations, and the AGs got involved and started doing an investigation, and they all shut it all down. And see, the fallout hasn't come yet, but it's coming this next year, because 30 years worth of murder cases and executions are all going to come out based on that corruption. These people, and see, one of the guys who was executed was Rodney Reed's best friend, Odell Barnes.
Right. What do you guys think of the Darrell Brooks trial?
Who?
I have no. Who's Darrell Brooks? I have no idea.
He's the guy who ran his car through a parade attack, and he's representing himself now.
He's an idiot, and he's a killer. I'm sorry. I've seen little clips on court TV, cross-examining the police officer on the stand, the one that fired at his vehicle. About 10 minutes of that is all I could take.
So,
and quite frankly,
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
I'd be interested if you think that if you look a little bit into it, see what you thought about him.
Well, for one,
so he drove his car into a group of protesters.
Yeah, no, not protesters. It was a parade, a Christmas parade.
Christmas parade in Wisconsin, and he just drove his way through and killed a few
right
people.
Over kids and mothers and fathers, and it was.
But that's crazy.
He was running from what I perceived that law enforcement was chasing him.
And he's acting
what I
as his own lawyer.
What I did look into, though, that would interest you, Patrick, is the George Floyd case.
Yeah.
Extensively.
But Patrick
Kanye had a few words to say about that this week.
Patrick would have known that since he has been paying attention.
Yeah.
Well,
and
gentlemen,
have a real bone to pick. And let me tell you, I'll come back to that in the national media as soon as they get over their bias there, because as big a ass, as that police officer was, Chauvin did not cause George Floyd's death.
And we have addressed that, but we'll come back to it again.
I remember we discussed that, because they brought that same nut medical examiner, Baker, down to testify in the Reed case.
But listen, gentlemen,
I
thank you.
I still got 4 hours of paperwork to do tonight.
I thank you.
Best of luck to you too. I hope you continue to be successful. And I'm going to drop this. I think I got my point across as best as I could. And I've scratched this itch regarding Stacy's memory and Stacy's sad situation that she was murdered and she continues to be victimized even after her death.
I agree. Well, we agree on that. She still continues to be victimized, but we just have the wrong people doing the victimization. Right. That's where we disagree.
Yeah.
All right.
And
well, as long as the caring is there.
I'll say this, Patrick. I tip my hat to you as being the only person to move from behind a keyboard to step up and say, well, here I am. Here is my position, and it is based on this.
Thank you, Kevin Stu.
I tip my hat to you for that.
I feel the same way, Patrick.
I appreciate that.
People who have differing opinions, nobody knows your side of the issue until you present it.
Yes.
And again, you manned up and stated your viewpoints. May not agree with them.
We don't agree.
But you weren't trying to convince. You weren't trying to convince me.
No.
You were putting this out for public consumption, and how the public takes it.
Yes.
That's
on them. It's on the public.
Time tells, right?
Justice,
but still pay attention, because you still got several things coming in the Reed case. You still have the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling on the additional DNA testing, which I think is a dog and pony show. To be honest with you, I don't agree with it. Because I don't think that the state would ever tell you the truth and give you the proper evidence, but be that as it may, that's in play. Plus, the Court of Criminal Appeals hasn't ruled yet on J.D. Langley's report on the evidentiary hearing from last summer.
Yeah.
But I do
understand.
I do understand there's a criminal investigation of J.D. Langley going on in the Supreme Court right now, the civil Supreme Court of Texas.
Things bubbling.
Well, listen, I'll listen to you guys. I think I'm done calling in,
Patrick.
And perhaps
I'm telling you, we'll hear back.
Patrick.
Yeah.
You've got the bug. You can't sit there and listen.
You know the number
before having to.
you know the number and you know how to dial it. So
maybe, yeah. And hey, look, Kevin, I listen to your show 3 days a week now too. So
I have to admit that I don't listen, Kevin, unless I'm on. It's just enough time.
Yeah.
I think you got a good thing going here, and you got a good web page, and I think you're going to keep on getting bigger.
Thank you, Patrick. I appreciate that.
Okay, and Patrick, like I said, I appreciate you weighing in. I wished others, would.
Yeah.
Don't know what happened to Lisa O'Brien, but
Well, she's still out there. I talk to her occasionally because I just I like her podcast. I don't. I'm not on her podcast.
Is she still doing podcasts?
Yeah, I was on it once when in February after we talked.
She's still doing it with the guy that she used to do it with, the guy who vapes.
I'm not too sure. I think she changed people.
Oh, okay.
But,
she doesn't do a podcast by herself. She doesn't have her own podcast.
There's another person. Another person.
Yeah, a woman. There's a woman and the guy that she did. Roberta.
Oh yeah, Glass.
Yes. Yeah. That's the one.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
That's the one.
Yeah, I just don't have time for those because I'm being beat up too many high profile murder cases going on right now, and
all right,
media.
Fisher, get back to it.
Like I said, you should start seeing stuff because it's come to a head here in Texas.
And Patrick, I'm serious when I'm encouraging you to start your own because
we'll see about that.
You hold your own one, and you raise good arguments. I have no problem with your arguments.
I appreciate that, and maybe I'll call back, but I'm going to try to focus on other things. But David, I hope you focus on ones that, as opposed to Rodney Reed, are people who are innocent. And I'll leave you with that.
Well, I do deal some right now on defendants, and to be honest with you, I'm not sure that these defendants, are innocent. It's just in these particular cases that I'm consulting in for the attorneys that represent the defendants. These are trials yet to happen, so I don't have any dog to hunt in this. It's my involvement is making sure that the evidence that the defense is presenting is factual. And see, it's aimed at the defense.
Factual or truthful?
Factual
or truthful?
I'm sorry.
You making sure that the evidence is factual or truthful?
On the defense, on the side that I'm consulting for, making sure the defense presents correct evidence.
Okay.
This is not the state that I'm worried about. I'm worried about making sure the defense stays on its side of the fence.
Okay.
Well, thank
right.
you for
So-
letting me scratch my itches and talking to you and bringing up all the subjects we still don't agree.
Yeah,
but,
well, just remember
I
those
think-
itches are forever.
It's an hour later here in New England, so I got to go to sleep.
Yeah.
I can
An hour and a
tell
half.
that you've got the bug already,
Yep.
especially if you're staying in touch with Lisa O'Brien. Yeah, you're not going anyplace.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care, Patrick.
Y'all take care. I'm gone. Patrick,
Alrighty.
good night. Kevin, good night.
Good night, Fish. Take care. Well, as usual, we go over time and we wrap it up sometime later. And there are some that are lost in illusion. There are some that have found their way. It for the most part is a matter of opinion until you get information to back up whatever it is that you're recognizing exists. So whatever your argument is, you have an opinion, then you have the evidence that supports your opinion. Until you can present your evidence convincingly, as they do in trials, it's just that, an opinion. Present the facts that support your opinion, present the evidence that supports your opinion, and then you have a compelling argument. Again, my job, stimulate your appetite, not satisfy your hunger. So you should have more questions. And if you have more questions at the end, then I've done my job. Thank you all. Good morning, good afternoon, good day to you wherever you are in the world. I can't even tell you good night here. I have to say good morning because it is morning right here on the East Coast. Down here in South Florida we have excellent weather. Some people getting really chilly right now. And we pray that they make it through this first freeze. First ones are rough, and then coming down towards the end is also rough. Pray for those who are facing the freeze right now. We pray for those who have lost loved ones. We pray for those in the Ukraine with these drone attacks. We pray for the ones in Russia with dealing with getting drafted. Say a prayer for the world. This is where I part company with you guys. Until later on when we do Healthy Love, all being well. Take care. Be good. If you can't be good at it. I'm out of here. Greetings and salutations, one and all. You're invited to tune in to the Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew. It airs on Mondays with Community and Finance, Tuesdays with Healthy Love, and Wednesdays with Real Talk from 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern Time. Come spend some time interacting in the stew pot where we keep things bubbling and wind down in musical therapy. The Night Shift with DJ Kevin Stew is on kevinstew.com, where you're encouraged to have acceptance through enlightenment.